is Whataburger Friday Night Stars, presented by Game On Sports, live from the Star in Frisco, Texas, and the Dallas Cowboys headquarters. Here's Kyle Yeomans, Zach Walchuk, Eric Chiafalo, and Heckma Harrison.
Week 2 of the Texas high school football season is upon us.
Yes, it is, Kyle. Yes, it is.
Oh, my gosh. You are just right.
I felt like we had a lack of energy, guys. I had a lack of energy, but we're here. It's post-game time, and we're alive.
Oh, my gosh.
Fired up, boys. Fired up.
We already have a Friday final, by the way, buddy.
Is that our first one?
Yeah, we do. My goodness, give us a little bit of time to get into this.
No, I love it. I like where your head's
He's going right
where your
in.
heart's at. Give me some. I'm here with you, brother. I'll go to war with you.
Well, he's Zach Walchuk, now the star of the show, Eric Chiafalo, and then Heckma Harrison over here. Kyle Yeomans with you. Whataburger Friday Night Stars, post-game edition. It's overtime, boys. As we go through week 2 of the Texas high school football season, we had an incredible pregame show. You can always go check that out on YouTube, Vimeo, on Twitter, and then on Facebook as well. But now we're in overtime. Now we get to talk about the games that are happening at this very moment. And like you said, Zach, there is a Friday final already. We're going to get to that here in just a little bit, but we're going to check in with one of the best games, at least that we looked at going into this week, and that was Argyle on the road against Waco La Vega. And right now, the Argyle Eagles are flexing their muscles a little bit, boys. How about that first half for the Eagles as they go off? They currently lead the Pirates, the defending champion Pirates, might I add, 42-21 on the road. And we kind of talked about it. This is an Argyle team with their chip on their shoulder, and they've definitely shown that chip off tonight, no doubt about it.
Bo Hugaboom. All day long. All day. And the thing is, and we said it before the break, man, is that, Argyle had the most to prove in this game, especially the way that they ended in the playoffs. And La Vega taunted them. They taunted them, they beat them, and then went on to win the title. And they had something. They started last week versus Stephenville, and they're continuing it. Based off of the numbers that we're looking at, man, Argyle definitely did not lit up off of them. Now, 21 points. Obviously, they obviously wanted to have a blowout game. La Vega isn't a slouch by any means. They have a three-headed monster at running back, and that's what they are going to commit to. But Bo Hugaboom, through the air, 219 yards,
4 touchdowns.
Yeah, but La Vega's been able to throw the ball well, and then we just got the score update, so it looks like La Vega takes the opening possession of the third quarter, goes down, gets themselves a touchdown. They're right back in it. Still only a 2-score game. This is, we've seen these games between both of these teams. I think La Vega stormed back and won the game last year, so this game is far from over. But Argyle had a really, really good first half. You can see they dominated the trenches. It looks like the second half there, that first drive, La Vega was able to run the ball and get back to their bread and butter, what they do. But 47 yards in the first half for La Vega on the ground, not what you're looking for. I am pretty impressed with their passing game. I said coming in, Hugaboom's the better quarterback here. It's Landry Kinney. I know Walchuk's a big fan of his, and it looks like he stepped up tonight in a big way. But it looks like Argyle, at least in that first half, dominated the trenches, and we knew that's where this game was really going to be won or lost. Argyle gets the nod in the first half.
Yeah, big plays for La Vega. 64-yard touchdown run was their most recent one. They've also got touchdowns of 69 yards, 84 yards, and 70 yards. So La Vega, it's been the home run ball for them, whether it's a pass from Landry Kinney, just had a big run from Jarkay Walton, a 64-yarder to make it 42-28. But Bo Hugaboom's been awesome. And Tito Bice. We do give a lot of love to Bo, and he deserves it. But Tito Bice is quite the running back. He's got 2 touchdowns on the ground as well. Very impressive, but far from over. Lots of football left to be played at La Vega.
Well, you look at the firepower of a team that has won a state championship in the last 7 months, 8 months now in La Vega. Just because they lost a lot of those guys from that state championship run doesn't mean they don't have that explosiveness. 2 scores is not necessarily any room for Argyle to breathe, especially whenever there's already been 70-plus points put up on the board. Now, moving forward to that game that, like you said, Zach, is already a Friday final. We're already getting into the final scores, and that's because we're at the Cotton Bowl for this one. The Trinity Trojans take down Saxe. Saxe, a team that kind of surprised some people last week with a big win over Coppell, a come-from-behind win over Coppell. Trinity, on the other hand, beat up a Midway team that's kind of a little bit down this year on the offensive end, but they show off the defense again and hold a talented Saxe squad to under 250 yards of total offense in a 21-19 win, guys.
Yeah, Trinity did it again on the ground. Their quarterback, Irvin, excellent job. They only put up, what is that, 81 yards passing? I mean, that's just it's a typical Trinity stat line, but they just wear you down.
No doubt about it.
With their ground game, and A.J. Barnett did what we expected him to do. He had a 9-yard touchdown run in this one. But Saxe, give them credit. They got down early in this one, much like they did last week to Coppell. They were able to come back and knock off the Cowboys last week. The Trojans, though, at the end of this one, not giving over the victory to Saxe. But I think this is a good Saxe team. I think both these teams will be playoff bound without question.
Yeah, Saxe really fought, and it came down to the wire. Credit to the Trinity defense, who was put in a tough situation at the end of that game. They punt the ball, and there was some sort of mishap either with the snap or there was a fumble on the play that allowed Saxe to get the ball pretty deep into Trinity territory. They score within 4 plays, and then with a minute and 20 seconds left, down by 2, Saxe's got to go for 2, and the Trinity defense steps up in a goal line stand situation, gets the stop, and is able to close out the game in victory.
But 2-point conversion.
2-point conversion stop. Yeah, absolutely.
Time.
Yeah, so it was a big stop there by Trinity, whose special teams put them in an unfortunate situation. Defense steps up in a big way.
No doubt about it. Another Trinity win overall. And moving forward from this, is this a Trinity squad with 2 good wins already on the resume here in 2019 that's going to give them an opportunity to kind of make some noise in that district, a tough district overall. But, I mean, this is a Trinity squad that's beaten up 2 state powers to be fair to start the year.
Yeah, Marcus Irvin is making he's a difference maker, but also the fact that Trinity graduated so many guys. And so you look at a Trinity team that they don't have anyone besides maybe A.J. Barnett from last year's team that you can even point to say that he's going to be that guy. Marcus Irvin wasn't a name that you were talking about. But again, it comes down to the same thing with Trinity. Every year they are big up front, offensively and defensively. And, you talk about the big play at the end to stop the 2-point conversion from Saxe. They came up big, guys, and I'm telling you, heat had a lot to do with it in the Cotton Bowl at 5 o'clock. So that was a game that those kids right now are both tired teams.
No doubt about it. And they're going to move forward as tired teams, too. You got to turn back around. There's no time to waste. You got some big games coming up as well. Moving forward, though, looking at DeSoto and Jesuit. I mean, this is a DeSoto team, of course, with a big-time win last week and looking to make some noise in 7-6A. And then Jesuit team trying to prove themselves a little bit. The ground game has definitely not been where you would want it if you're Jesuit overall, but neither is the passing game because DeSoto's just kind of taking it to them right now.
Yeah, and Jesuit playing without E.J. Smith, their star-studded running back, obviously son of Emmitt Smith, and he didn't play last week as well. Jake Taylor stepped up in a big way for them, but still, I mean, you lose a guy like Emmitt Smith, you're going to
E.J. Smith
or E.J. Smith, excuse me.
Yeah, you lose a guy like Emmitt Smith. That's also something. Don't worry.
Hey.
Sorry, Walchuk's love and the fat head in his room that I saw earlier today had me thinking Emmitt Smith there. But
the GOAT.
So not having E.J. Smith is tough for Jesuit. That's 2 weeks in a row now, and last week they got off to a nice start offensively, but then could only score 7 points in the second half. They got a touchdown so far in the second half today, but it takes its toll on you when your guy E.J. Smith is not in the game.
Hey, Rance, your guy Rance, that was the name. Your guy Rance, he held his own today. But the guy for DeSoto, Samari Collier, 329 yards, 5 touchdowns, had 1 interception, but still, Duncanville in this new look offense under new head coach.
DeSoto?
DeSoto.
Hey, Emmitt Smith, E.J. Smith.
Thank you, sir.
I hear you.
There you go. DeSoto is, last week in the game that they had in the blackout versus Odessa Premium, they had something to build off of. They come into this game. Obviously, they don't blow the doors off like they did last week, but still, this is a football game where I see DeSoto trying to pull away. But guys, this is still a 7-point game.
No doubt.
Yeah, look, the issue with Jesuit last year was defensively. Can they stop anybody? And I think so far through the first 2 weeks, even though they're hanging in there with DeSoto without E.J. Smith, I think that's outstanding for the Rangers. But they've already given up over 30 points, 34 points thus far. You'd assume that that's going to add. But you talked about Samari Collier. He's got 5 touchdowns. 3 different receivers have caught him. Robert Richardson's had a decent game running the football along with Jaylen Brown. They're able to have that balance. Definitely their explosiveness has been through the air, but able to just kind of have a little bit of a running game that they can threaten with. It's big for DeSoto, and Collier's also a running threat. So I didn't know what to expect from this Eagle team. I'll be honest, coming into this year. You have your old head coach, Claude Mathis, back in the fold. We know DeSoto's always got talent, but looked really good these first 2 weeks. I think they should be excited. Even though Jesuit is hanging around, this game's certainly not over. You think that for DeSoto, they've never really been in doubt in this one. They've still controlled the game. Jesuits lingered about. They just need to close down and have that knockout blow here in the fourth.
Yeah, I think it's good that Samari Collier got off to a really nice start and has really had a great game today because the coaches love him. I mean, they think highly of him. They're excited about what he's going to bring over the next 2 years because he's only a junior. But last week didn't have a great game. 53% of his passes completed, 166 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, but they didn't really need him against Permian last week. And then also, last week the other thing was Permian's not throwing the football. So you didn't really get to see that DeSoto passing defense get tested. And they got studs back there. I mean, they got a guy like Jabbar Muhammad, really, really highly recruited guy, one of the best corners in the area. And Jesuits throwing the ball. I mean, you brought him up, Rance Holman, who had a nice showing last week, and he's had to step up in a big way without E.J. Smith. I mean, who would have thought? You're Rance Holman, you're stepping in, it's your first year starting. You're like, hey, thank God I got my bell cow here, E.J. Smith. First 2 games, he's not there. Holman stepped up, but obviously not enough against an extremely athletic DeSoto team.
Completely derails your whole game plan. You're going into the year expecting we're going to have our offense focused around E.J. Smith, and then all of a sudden, he's not there. But I'll tell you, Jonathan Paradis, 7 catches, 121 yards a touchdown. He's averaging 17 yards a catch. That's big, especially against an athletic, talented DeSoto defense, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea of what they lose with E.J. Smith not being there, last year he totaled almost 1,500 yards and 17 touchdowns.
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot of production that you lose over these last 2 games. Hopefully Smith gets back in the fold here shortly, but it's an ankle thing he's dealing with, and who knows how long he'll be out.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things that could linger a little bit, but the production is something you can't replace.
No question.
No
the
doubt about
important
it.
thing, though, is you want him healthy for district play.
Absolutely.
So it's like, yes, these are big games.
Fair. Good
Big
point.
game against DeSoto. We'd love to have him out there, but the important thing is if we want to go to the playoffs, we've got to hold serve in district play. So I wouldn't be shocked if they just let him rest, be healthy. Come week 4, week 5, whenever your first district game is, E.J. Smith's ready to go.
Yeah, and that's a confidence booster. Being able to hang in with these last 2 weeks, almost get the win last week, and then this week against DeSoto, it's a 1-score game in the third quarter. I mean, you're right there in the thick of things. Being able to do that with a Rance Holman, who's a new starter at quarterback, and without your best player, I think you got to feel good about it if you go in and you get E.J. Smith back for district.
So are we? If they don't win this game, is this going to be a moral victory because they stayed in?
This is the second week in a row we're bringing moral victories.
Are we claiming a moral victory, guy?
Okay, here's the thing. I get what you're saying here because you're not taking a moral victory, but you're playing extremely well, or not extremely well.
And
but you're playing
we still
better.
got our best player to come back in hopefully a week or
That's
2
a
or
shot
what
in the
have you.
arm going into district play, no matter
You
who
can have
you
moral
are.
victories in
Sure.
high school, Heckma.
There you go.
These kids aren't getting paid.
Let's take a moral victory lap.
No.
Let's do it together.
What does that even mean?
Come on.
Well, okay, let's talk about Dickinson and Allen.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, what does that even mean? I don't even know. Dickinson on the road against Allen and Allen Eagles squad. Of course, we know Allen, and we know what they bring to the table. This Dickinson squad ranked up in the top 15. It doesn't really matter, though, because Allen is just Allen, and they continue to put up. They continue to put up big time points, man.
It seemed maybe Dickinson was going to hang into this one. It was
You hinted at
14
it
earlier.
right there
too.
for a little while.
They were playing with him. They were going stride for stride. They had a 74-yard touchdown pass from Mike Welch to Darrell Harris to start the game. They're up 7-0. Yippee, here we go. Blaine Green, couple of touchdown catches from Raylan Sharp. Allen's back up 14-7. Not so fast. Here comes Mike Welch back down the field. 26-yard touchdown pass to Jathan Caldwell. We're tied at 14. From that point on, it's been all Allen Eagles. Raylan Sharp's been absolutely outstanding.
Sharp.
A 70-yard touchdown bomb to Darian Sheffield. We worried about, how do you replace the Oese? You got the Green brothers. You got Sherfield coming into the mix. Not any lack of talent there for Allen, without a question. up 35-14 right now, and that is the 13th ranked team in the state. The Allen Eagles are ready to go, and I think they found their new star quarterback.
Hey,
Raylan Sharp.
we were talking about a guy from Capel that we were looking for, and he just shows up on the stat sheet here in Allen. Drew Cerniglia is an Allen quarterback. Look at that.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding, man.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. And so, no, he didn't go Taps. He went Allen.
0 yards passing, 0 touchdowns.
Well, he'll
Welcome
have
to
plenty,
Allen, Drew.
Hey, he'll get plenty of opportunities.
cleanup
man.
work there for Drew.
Absolutely. But like you said, man, going back to the running back, the receivers, the Green, Blaine and Bryson Green, they're putting on a show also. But your guy Sheffield is pretty awesome. 2 catches, 88 yards, one touchdown. But Blaine is 2 touchdowns for himself right there. So Allen, man, is not looking too shabby, and that defense is definitely holding their own.
Yeah, that's what I was going to give credit to is that defense. Coming into last week, what did we say? That they had, I think they only had 2 starters returning on the defense, so how were they going to show up? And they showed up pretty well last week against Cedar Hill, and then today only giving up under 50 yards rushing so far in this game is pretty dang impressive, and only 17 points. That Allen defense showing up to play, and it's really just what you expect. You don't know who the names are when there's only 2 starters returning, but you know the other 9 that are stepping onto that field are going to be pretty good.
Yeah, they're future D1 athletes.
Yeah, at least a handful
Most
of them,
likely,
no question.
they're going to be future D1 stars, and I completely agree with you. They forced 2 fumbles. That Allen defensive line, I think, was a bit of a question, really, offensively and defensively. They just put so much D1 that it turns out to be NFL-type talent from their line of scrimmage, and they just go ahead and retool. They've got a bunch of sophomores that are getting reps, but the Allen Eagles, man, boy, maybe I don't want to say anybody ever overlooks Allen, but this was kind of one of the first years that you didn't see them picked as a preseason state champion kind of favorite because of Duncanville, because Denton Geyer's gotten a lot of preseason love, but Allen... Yeah. Man, Allen hasn't gone away. They are here, and they could very easily make another run at another state championship.
Well, when's the last time that you've heard a guy like Heckma Harrison say, oh, those Allen Eagles were not too shabby, not too shabby? Usually it's, hey, Allen Eagles here, they're dominating, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're all over the scoreboard, and that hasn't necessarily been the case, but they've been solid over 2 really good teams already this year.
No question. And you know what? Today with Raylan Sharp, last week I told you guys, he's known for his running ability. They thought that they called him Lil Kyler because he's just so fast. He can dart all around the field.
First play was an 80-yard touchdown run.
Yeah.
First play an 80-yard touchdown. Today it's been through the air. I mean, he doesn't have 200 yards passing, but he doesn't need to. He's got 4 touchdowns. He's just efficient, doesn't have a lot on the ground. And Keldon Manning hasn't even had that great of a game on the ground because they haven't needed him to. In fact, it's Jordan Johnson who stepped up and carried a lot of the load. Only 3 carries for him, but 83 yards. He's got 1 massive touchdown run. Just so much talent. And Raylan Sharp, you're already seeing that progression. Yes, we know he can get it done with his legs. He's showcasing the arm talent here in week 2.
Scary, boys.
Yeah, how much better can this kid get from one week to another? Last week versus Cedar Hill, and everyone's looking at, what is Allen going to do? And Sharp comes out and completely dominates that game from the start to finish. And he's doing the same thing this week. And so it's a new fold to Allen, it seems like, every week, especially with all the talent that they graduated on the offensive line. You got to remember, in EJ and Doma Ogar, went their all-everything offensive lineman goes to OU. And still, you talk about 3 or 4 guys that are on their offensive line that they had to replace. So not only on the offense and the defense as well, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do?
You just got to turn and look sometimes. I mean, with the amount of depth that they have and the amount of
Terry Gamble,
talent, man.
Kudos, man. He's doing a great job there.
He absolutely is. Absolutely. And now, you guys kind of mentioned the dominance in stuff that we're used to seeing Allen kind of impose on other teams. We're starting to see that a little bit from a team from Flower Mound. Flower Mound Jags, and they've been impressive as of late. They won last week in an impressive fashion, 55-31. Well, they turn around and play at Clark Stadium against those Plano West Wolves this week, and it's not anything really different, or it's not even anything we didn't expect from this Flower Mound team, or a good team overall. And they took care of business tonight, and are continuing to take care of business of the Wolves so far.
Blake Short.
Yeah, Blake Short is a guy that's been playing solid at the quarterback position. Not not turning the ball over is the number one thing. And what's a quarterback's best friend? A good running game. And Pierce Hudgens is that. That's his buddy. And I mean, it's just definitely a protector for him. 11 carries, 76 yards in the game. He hadn't finished, but Pierce Hudgens does a lot in the pass pro and also as a receiver out of the backfield. This guy is very talented. He's one of the running backs in the area that doesn't get a lot of attention, but the guy does a solid job week in and week out and definitely put himself on the map last year as a running back for Flower Mound.
And it was a little bit of a slow start with the rushing attack tonight for Flower Mound. We were sitting in between the pregame and the postgame show chatting with Chris Beam, and we were looking at Pierce Hudgens and Flower Mound's rushing numbers. There wasn't much there, and just give it a little bit of time. Second half comes, they want to run some clock. Here's our guy, Pierce Hudgens. He's ready to go. Totes the rock. He's probably going to finish with over 100 yards. He's got a touchdown, and they're just rolling on Plano West. Here's the thing with the Wolves. They're definitely a better team than they were last year. They're probably going to lose their 28th straight here. We knew it was going to be tough for Andrew Pico.
I mean, that's funny, right? I mean, they're 28 straight. You just seamlessly roll through that. I mean, 28 straight losses.
I'm trying to be optimistic for them. I think that they will finally snap that streak this year.
Against who?
Tonight was not the night.
Not tonight. Maybe
they've got McKinney Boyd, who's not that good within district play.
They got the Plano Wildcats.
They got Plano and Plano East. That Plano's okay. East is that they don't have Trey Scott Jones, their senior running back right now. I don't know when they're on their schedule. They're going to get worked, of course, by Prosper and Allen. But I don't know. For West, you got to hope it's not a third straight winless season, right?
No. Oh, well, yeah, of course. And credit to Flower Mound, though, because coming into this year, remember, last year they were sort of the surprise team. No one was really expecting them to be dominant. This year, everybody knows this is a team that you got to bring your A game for, and to get off to a 2-0 start for Flower Mound like this and a dominant victory over Plano West. Doesn't matter if you're playing a team that's lost 28 straight games. You go out and dominate a team, it makes you feel great.
No doubt about it.
West plays Mesquite next week.
Yes.
Maybe.
Saying there's a chance?
Saying there's a chance.
You think next week could end that streak?
You know what?
Are you going to pick it?
Give that bold prediction. First one of the day.
We don't have to make this a pick'em game for next week.
I don't know. I think that they've got a chance.
Okay.
They've got a chance.
Very good.
I like
it's
it.
on the road. Always tough, but they got a chance to beat Mesquite next week.
We can talk about that. We can talk about that a little bit later. Now, moving on, we're going to actually take a quick break here before we come back and talk about a little bit of Frisco Independence and Memorial. That was a pretty good ball game over at the Ford Center across the way. We're going to take a quick break before we continue on through our list of some of the best games throughout the state of Texas. This is Whataburger Friday Night Stars, Week 2 edition here from the Star in Frisco.
Well, thank you for getting our energy together.
That felt a lot like sex to me. I don't know.
Gear up for back to sport at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
It's game day. A day that should be spent in the living room, not the kitchen. So next game, you just worry about the score, because we've got the food covered. With hand-battered, cooked-to-order, always fresh, never, ever frozen chicken fingers, craveable cane sauce, crispy crinkle-cut fries, and jugs of freshly made tea and lemonade. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, one love.
Go Cowboys!
It's in all of us, and we won't hold it back. Not one little bit. Nope, we embrace it, letting it fuel our passions, pushing us deeper than we thought possible and keeping us curious. It's what sets us apart from the herd. It's how we come up with the ideas that make people say, why didn't I think of that? See, when you nurture the creativity and passion that's in all of us, you'll learn nothing is out of reach.
Get excited, Whataburger fans. Our one-of-a-kind mushroom Swiss burger is back.
And now it's an all-time favorite.
If you love mushrooms, you're going to love this burger.
The double cheese and mushrooms was absolutely amazing.
It's a really good balance between the mushrooms and the Swiss. And that au jus sauce on top.
The creamy au jus sauce.
It really complements the mushrooms. Everything just works perfectly together.
It's just perfect. Every bite's perfect.
It's not just a mushroom Swiss burger, it's a Whataburger mushroom Swiss burger.
Hey, I'm Jack. We started SeatGeek because we want fans to have a better, more transparent ticket buying experience. With SeatGeek, you can see the best deals and buy tickets, all with a price match guarantee. The only thing we can't guarantee is that your team will win. So use the code TICKETS20 at checkout for $20 off your first order.
The Star Walk at the Star in Frisco, Texas, where we are just behind those jerseys sporting the Dallas Cowboys, headquarters of America's team here in, I guess, would this not be downtown Frisco? This is the outskirts of Frisco.
Yeah, it's not downtown, but it's the most beautiful part of Frisco.
It is,
I would say.
It's Frisco's all beautiful, though.
It really is.
It's all beautiful. You know what else is beautiful?
High school football in Texas.
Texas high school football. As always, Whataburger Friday Night Stars rolling on here in hour number 3. Well, that too.
All the time.
We saw like vintage Heckma with the glasses and the sport coat, and
it was the fedora that got me.
It was the fedora.
100th anniversary.
I told you to still
I'm
wear
old school.
I don't know why you took the fedora off.
Come on, man! I got to do it for the gram. Got to,
Was it a fedora? I thought it was a fishing
You're
hat.
not doing it for the gram. Was
He
it a fishing
does own
hat?
a fedora, though.
But there was a fishing hat.
It was like a bucket hat that he was
I
wearing.
don't know what it was, but it was outstanding.
Guys, grow up a little bit, okay?
Yeah,
I've been around.
Yeah, what he said. Yeah.
He's been around.
I'm with you, Heckman.
Been around.
He's
That's true.
He's the experienced veteran.
He also
of
thought
Whataburger
South
Friday.
Oak Cliff had a
Saying
chance
old.
to beat Skyline.
We'll talk about why are you bringing up old stuff.
Old stuff. This
That
is
was
current.
today.
This is live.
Let's not live in the past, boys.
Come on.
There's nothing wrong with
Let's live in the
Come
future.
on.
We're currently talking about that stuff. Okay, let's talk about Frisco Independence in Memorial.
Talk about bringing up old stuff. Hey, what do you guys? You ready to crown Memorial there for a second, right?
Not me, Heckma.
Yeah.
I stayed far away from that one.
I
They
tell
had
you what,
37 rushing yards.
there's
tonight.
one
Actually, no,
name-
31. Let me correct myself.
There's one name that I sat here and wrote down, and that is Mr. Braylon Braxton.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have.
You call it? What'd you call him? Baby what? What'd you say? he was?
Dwayne Haskins.
Baby Dwayne.
Baby Dwayne.
it's like 5 inches shorter,
Oh my
Baby
60
Dwayne.
pounds lighter.
He's a little. He's smaller, but he's just
He's a
the
lot
same
smaller, but
build.
the thickness.
My
He's
goodness.
thick,
Yeah.
and he's
Thick with a
athletic,
couple of
and
C's.
he's got a cannon.
Look, one of the things we get a chance to do here is check out all of the games that are happening over at the Star Live. And my God, Braylon Braxton is a man-child. 5 touchdowns, only 1 interception. But look, he 58 yards rushing. He was Mr. Everything for Independence tonight.
20 of 29, efficiency, 322 yards.
Woo.
Charlie Flowers for Frisco Memorial, 20 of 29 as well. But 2 interceptions along with the 2 touchdowns.
How about my boy Keon Wafer? Keon Vanilla Wafer.
I like that name.
235 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns on 5 catches, almost 50 yards per catch.
I'm sure the Wafer family does not
They just turned off Friday Night Stars.
fancy Keon
The
Vanilla
Wafers, what? Maybe they're maybe they own a little stock in
That's pretty good.
the Vanilla Wafers.
McMillan, 6 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. There's a lot of weaponry there. With the receiving core, you got Braxton on the ground.
Quite the arsenal.
Yeah.
They got some explosiveness there for Frisco Independence. Still, for Frisco Memorial, I think this was a game last year that they got completely blown out in, and they hung around for 3 quarters or so, and then the Independence Knights just went ahead and did the Braylon Braxton show and waved goodbye.
Little look ahead moment. Thursday night, October 10th, here at the Star in Frisco, we got Independence versus Lone Star.
Love look aheads. That'll be fun.
That might be quite the matchup,
That'll
gentlemen.
be fun. That'll be fun.
Quite the matchup.
There might be something in the works for that game. By the way,
We could do something.
I mean, there's. I'm not gonna
You got a
tease
twinkle
anything.
in your eye.
Yeah, there might be a little bit of a working
relationship
with that game between Whataburger Friday Night Stars. We're not going to go too far into that because we've got a lot to deal with.
Hint, hint.
But anyways,
Nudge,
hint. Overall, I was very impressed with this Independence team last year. A team that kind of flew under the radar and then kind of showed that potential offensively. Braxton was one of the big reasons because of that. They had the running game. They had a strong offensive line, which was very impressive last year, which allowed Braxton to kind of utilize the legs and the athleticism a little bit. I was impressed with that. Moving that forward, I think this might be one of those big years, maybe not a big year, but an advancement year for an independent school and a squad that's still trying to find its identity throughout Frisco ISD and cement themselves as one of the top teams around these parts.
Yeah, Memorial's much better. I mean, we saw a couple of games with Memorial here
doubt.
where they did not look the part, but they were game. They came in, they played really hard. But Independence also, they're packing a punch on defense. It's not just what they do on offense that kept them ahead in this game. But look, man, like I said, Braylon Braxton, geez Louise, man.
He's a stud.
Oh, absolutely.
He can manage a game is one of the biggest things that he does well, and I'm very impressed with. You mentioned Frisco Lone Star in that matchup a couple weeks from now or months from now. Well, they had themselves a little bit of a night. District 5A taking on District 4-5A, and
my jaw dropped when I saw this score.
This was impressive.
This was impressive for Lone Star.
We talked about this potentially being a little bit of a look-ahead game.
Like maybe Denton could compete a little bit. No.
Not the case.
Not the case. Denton falls in this game pretty handily.
Is there not a skunk rule in Texas high school football? 75-0.
They might have had a running clock.
Yeah, going to let that happen.
That's what you do. You just start letting the clock.
Well, that's good because they only scored 16 points of their 75 in the fourth quarter.
Goodness, man.
Thank God for that running clock.
75-0 victory for Frisco Lone Star.
My goodness.
Garrett Rangel, 15-21, 398 yards, 4 touchdowns, and Dylan DeLeon got into the act as well.
How about Marvin Mims, a 78-yard touchdown pass and an 85-yard touchdown pass, dude?
Yikes.
Absolute baller. This Garrett Rangel at quarterback.
That's why I was saying that, man, earlier, that's the difference for Lone Star. Last year, they had so many games that they were in. The defense kept them in a lot of those games. All they needed was a quarterback to get them over the hump with Mims, and it's happening.
Next week's game against Highland Park. Remember, last year it was a 10-7. It was a slugfest. It was a defensive game. It was a little bit ugly. Not this year.
No.
There's going to be a lot of points put up in that game.
Yeah, I hope so.
I was about to say the fact that this Lone Star defense doesn't look as strong as it did last year. But
they only gave up 0 points today.
Yeah, that's not the case. That was what I was saying.
Okay.
There's no way that's the case anymore. And
my, oh my.
This is a scary game. I mean, if you're Highland Park, you aren't scared of anybody. No doubt about it. That's kind of the mantra of Highland Park, but that's exactly the point. You're looking ahead to next week and saying, uh-oh.
Well, what are
we getting ourselves into?
What didn't Rockwall have that Lone Star has?
Defense.
Hello.
Exactly.
But it's at Highlander.
It is at Highlander.
They don't lose at Highlander.
Pretty much ever.
Okay.
This could be one of the statement wins, though, in a franchise.
If Lone Star goes in there and gets that victory, that's without a doubt.
It's a fun one next week, boys.
Big time statement win.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Buckle your seatbelt, kids.
That's going to be a fun game overall at the Star next week. Now, moving on from that 75-0 score, Frisco Reedy on the road against the Colony. This was one of our pick'em games that we had in the show earlier today, and the Colony.
I don't think anybody picked Reedy, though.
No, we all did.
Well, because there's no more Foskey, right?
No
if Foskey was there, I think we might have gone 4 for 4 on the Reedy pick here. But the Colony, Walchuk sleeper team who made the playoffs last year and absolutely dominated Reedy tonight.
They sleeper.
They're looking good. They're looking really good.
They're going to make a deep playoff run.
Mikey Harrington and company. And, of course, we know Miles Price. And they just the thing about Reedy is, man, they lose 15 of their 22 starters from last year. That's a tough thing to bounce back from, especially a Reedy program it's not like the culture's there and they've been doing this for the last 15, 20 years, and they just recycle players, right? Last year, they surprised everybody. They had a great team, and then they lost majority of their starters on both sides of the ball. It's a tough thing to duplicate.
Yeah, I understand why you call the Colony a sleeper team, because last year they were really up and down. They had some flashes, but not anything that you said that they were going to come out and put on these types of performances this year.
And they're just not a team that's ever made noise in the playoffs.
But
they return Mikey Harrington, they return Miles Price. Like they put up a huge offensive output last year.
Didn't really result in any major success. They didn't win a district title. They didn't win a playoff game.
What district are they in, though?
So this year, I think they've got a chance to accomplish all of those goals.
I hear you. Well, they're a fun team, no question about it. Mikey Harrington put up tons of yards and and touchdowns last year, and so did Miles Price. He plays both sides of the ball. He had a kick return for a touchdown last week. I mean, the dude just makes plays all over the place. So the Colony is going to be a fun team to monitor all season long, no question.
Keith Miller, our receiver, also a stud.
Yeah, Colorado commit, that Keith Miller. What a stud.
I like that. Just throwing that in there right at the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got to let the people know. I mean, the dude's going to play at Colorado. He's a good player. Don't sleep on him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Reedy's surprising.
That's kind of what I was going to ask is where do we go?
I think that this will be a team that gets better as the year goes on. They've got Jalen Kitna, who's at quarterback, who I think they also put in A.J. Padgett a little bit tonight. You know, they're a young squad. I think once they get to district play, they'll be a little bit better than we're seeing right now. I think this is a Reedy team that's trying to find themselves.
Yeah, no doubt. And moving forward, looking at a team that's still trying to find themselves a little bit is this Coppell squad. A new quarterback in Kevin Schumann there with the Cowboys. Buddy Eccles Field hosting their matchup today with LD Bell. This is a game we didn't get to talk about a whole lot earlier, but a solid matchup across the board. Coppell currently with a one-score lead, but LD Bell's kind of a team that might surprise some people because they can run the football.
Well, I tell you what, Kevin Schumann didn't even make the stat sheet, so really? I don't even know if he was was hurt. If he was hurt, got hurt last week. But man, the thing about LD Bell is they commit to the run at a fault, right?
Absolutely.
Like literally, Landry Choate literally has thrown the ball 5 times. I mean, dude, you could play quarterback for LD Bell, Chuck.
What does that mean?
Walchuk can't anybody.
I'm just saying.
You think I got a shot?
You got to
put the ball wherever he wants to.
I mean, only 5 attempts, three completions.
Yeah, but I got to run the football too, and I mean, Choate ran it for 105.
Well, I didn't think Walchuk could average 7.5.
No. Wait a minute. What I'm if he only has to throw it 5 times.
No, we're good on the throw. We're good on the pass.
That's all I was talking about.
He ain't running for a 105.
Throw it 5 times. But I don't know that I'm running for a $1.05.
But
he's more of a goal line.
So
back.
Here's the
more
thing:
of a Popeye's biscuit than a chicken nugget.
He tastes incredible.
I tried to give you a compliment, dog.
I appreciate it.
That Popeye's biscuit. But the thing is that even in this game, you know, we're not down to a final yet. Are we? It's not a final.
It is a final.
Is it
actually,
a final?
Coppell is won that football game.
I was trying to show him some love. I mean, but still, you know, when you get down like that and all you do is run the ball, it's hard to get points on the board. And so Coppell pulls out a squeaker in this one.
Yeah, 1-score win for Coppell. They improved to 1-1, and LD Bell falls to 1-1, and we're all 0-2 right now, or 0-4 is what it is.
Man, that's funny.
That is funny overall. Oh man, let's check in on Prosper here. Prosper and Keller Timber Creek, another 6A matchup between two teams that kind of going in different directions right now. Prosper kind of on the up and up, and then and Timber Creek squad that did not look good in their week 1 loss whenever they fell by 4 scores. But it's a lot more than 4 scores here in this one. 3 turnovers for the Falcons, kind of dooming them in this one, but it's also the offense in the running game of Prosper that's pushed them ahead in that score.
Jackson Berry taking over the reins there at Prosper at quarterback. We know they're good along the line of scrimmage. They've got a good line, but what was going to happen at quarterback and the junior putting on a show, 5 total touchdowns, 3 passing, 2 rushing. Prosper's in good hands. And look, we talked about it in the pregame. This is one of those programs. They're on the come up. Look out, because the Prosper Eagles are about to be a force year in and year out, and they're flexing their muscle and proving it here. They've also got a good game hanging out next week at Flower Mound. Prosper and Flower Mound. That will be a fun matchup with 2 outstanding high-voltage offenses. And for Keller Timber Creek, I mean, they just had no answer today for the run game or the pass game of Prosper. Tyler Bailey on the ground only took 8 carries, but he had 133 yards and a touchdown. Prosper really just an all-around good team victory here tonight.
Yeah, the sophomore Tyler Bailey at receiver getting some things done through the air. Like you mentioned, 8 catches, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns, and almost 60 yards on the ground with a touchdown. So there's a playmaker right there for Prosper and their new quarterback, Jackson Berry. That one next week, Walchuk. Is that at the new beautiful stadium over there in Prosper?
It's at Flower Mound.
It's going to be in Flower Mound? All right.
Yeah.
Which is going to be a fun matchup
plus
right
for
there.
The Jaguars.
Oh, no question.
Yeah, it is. And
no question.
I think it's Prosper's first road game of the year. I think they've had both their first 2 games at home.
Now, we said the same thing last year about Prosper. They were rattling off a few games, and not a team that everybody was looking for to be that good. They shore up the offensive line. They got a few studs on that offensive line as well.
They do.
But you said it, man. Tyler Bailey, for these guys. Sophomore is playing lights out, 133 yards. He's averaging 16 yards a carry. But Flower Mound is going to be. We can't look ahead. I just want to say that's going to be Yeah, that's gonna
be a good one.
That's gonna be a
great game.
You remember you mentioned last year in Prosper. You remember whenever their student section was kind of feeling it a little bit and was chanting the "We Want Allen."
Oh,
that was big.
That happened.
That was big. I don't know if that's going to happen this year because they might have learned their lesson a little bit.
They did.
Didn't Plano East do something like that too?
Plano
I think
East
so.
did, and then they got rocked.
Yeah, that was not a good game.
Yeah, Plano East was one of those teams. They haven't been the same since.
No,
they
no,
really
they have
haven't.
not. No.
Really
I think they
rocked.
started 6-0. They got smothered by Allen. Plano beat them, and they've just been fading.
Yeah, they have. But looking at a couple teams that have not been fading, I think both Birdville and Little Elm are both teams that are surprising a couple people. Big wins in week one, and then except for Birdville. Birdville did fall 35-31 last week, but looking to turning things around against a Little Elm team that did get a big week one win. I mean, this is hosted by Birdville at their facility, and overall, what are you guys thinking of these Birdville ball clubs, and what are you thinking of Little Elm as well on the other side?
Well, for Birdville, I think that the question is their defense. I mean, they returned their stud quarterback, who for some reason is escaping my brain right now. If anybody wants to
Stone
help
Earl.
me. Stone Earl. Gosh,
How does
what
that
a great
name
I don't
leave your
know.
head?
I don't know how I lost that name, but him and Ladarius Mixon, they have a great story, by the way, the two
Absolutely.
of them. And they're back this year, and everybody thought, wow, well, Birdville's going to pick up right where they left off. They lost some guys on defense in that secondary and in that linebacker position. I think it's hurt them, and you can see, I mean, Little Elm put up some yards. They put up some points against them, and particularly the yardage, you can see that. I don't think the Birdville defense is quite the same. As the year progresses, a young defense, you'd think they'll grow and progress as the season goes along, but you always love having that guy like Stone Earl at your quarterback position, who's a veteran there, and then having Ladarius Mixon, who's an absolute man beast at the running back position. You got to feel good about it, but that loss last week, heartbreaking loss in the final moments to Keller Central, which is not something anybody anticipated, but maybe a nice little wake-up call for Birdville. Like, hey, you're not one of the powers here just yet. You still got to earn your keep around these parts. So for them to go get the victory today against a Little Elm team that's certainly not bad.
No, not at all. And Ladarius Mixon last year, again, everything running back. These guys just had to wake up. I don't know what happened to them last week, but you talk about their defense, but they came up against a guy that is a stud in Ryan Watts. 6'4", 190 pounds. This guy is being recruited by everybody. I mean, 2 catches, 86 yards. He took it to him. I mean, you talk about big playability. Ryan Watts is that, and Little Elm isn't a slouch on defense either. So this was a very hard-fought game, and Birdville is lucky to get away with a win on this.
Yeah, and the Lobos established the run. Jordan Hall with 107 yards on the ground. Little Elm did a lot of things right in order to win this football game. A big win for Birdville, able to kind of shrug off that loss from last week. Now they can kind of get rolling again as they get closer and closer to district.
Getting closer and closer to district. That's one of the big things about a lot of these games right now, or you're starting to look at and find that teams are tuning up. That's one of the big deals.
And they're going to have a tight battle race like they had last year with Denton Ryan. I mean, both teams were undefeated. They played at Ryan last year. Birdville actually got up 14-0 in that game, and then Ryan rattled off. I think they won 42-14 or something like that. But Birdville, they're thinking maybe this is the year we can go ahead and try and knock off the Raiders. They got to get back into their mojo.
That's going to be a tough task.
It's going to be a tough task. Denton Ryan, by the way, winning today 24-0 over Keller Fossil Ridge. That defense flexing their muscles there as well. Quick middle update. We'll continue down the list here in a second. But Waco La Vega is now pulled back within a single touchdown, and they have the football on the 10-yard line, a crucial 4th and 11. So I believe it's actually a 4th and goal from the 11-yard line that La Vega is going to have to try and convert here to try and
that La Vega defense really stepped up. Stepped up in the second half. Hogaboom went off in the first half. 42 points, and then they can't find the end zone for 2 quarters there. So credit La Vega on both sides of the ball. We knew it was going to be a hard fought game as soon as they opened the third quarter with a touchdown to pull it within 2 scores. It's like, all right, now we're back in this thing. And 4th and 11, that's a tough one. But credit to La Vega, man. They're at home. The last thing they want to do is go lose this game, and they definitely don't want to get embarrassed. They're going to go down swinging. So that one's coming down to the wire.
Yeah, a couple other scores just from around the area. Ennis 34, Bishop Lynch 34. Close game.
Really close game there.
Those 2 ball clubs. Flower Mound Marcus up by a single score over McKinney Boyd at the moment. And then Lake Dallas showing up and taking down Frisco Centennial 24-0 in that ball game. We're going to take a quick break here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. When we return, we'll continue talking about some of the games around the area, including some big ones like South Lake Carroll and Colleyville Heritage, a little bit of Highland Park Mesquite Horn action, and then the big one this week, South Oak Cliff Duncanville. And we'll talk about how that one's going for the Golden Bears. Coach Jason Todd up against Coach Reginald Staples, and one of the legendary matchups between those two schools. We'll be back in a moment here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars.
Hi there, this is Dak Prescott. When it comes time to shop for my tailgate favorites, I go to my stores, Albertsons and Tom Thumb, where they offer fresh organics and large assortments of local produce and sell only USDA choice meats. Get 10% off of your groceries every Dallas Cowboy game day when you wear your Cowboy jerseys. Albertsons and Tom Thumb, the winning combination and the official supermarket and pharmacy of the Dallas Cowboys.
Gear up for back to sport at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Ashley Home Store, the #1 furniture and mattress store in America. We have all the major mattress brands at a guaranteed low price. Plus, we have furniture for every room in the house and decorator accessories to make it yours. With multiple locations, personalized service from knowledgeable associates, and convenient finance plans to fit your budget. Ashley Home Store, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys. This is home.
I mean, if you haven't thought about switching to Geico, frankly, you're missing out. The mobile app makes it easy to manage your policy, even way out here.
Your marshmallows.
Get digital ID cards, emergency roadside service, even follow. Whoa. Oops. That cheeky little thing got away from me. My bad.
Geico. It's easy to manage your policy whenever, wherever.
Can I trouble you for another marshmallow?
Get excited, Whataburger fans. Our one-of-a-kind mushroom Swiss burger is back.
And now it's an all-time favorite.
If you love mushrooms, you're going to love this burger.
The double cheese, the mushrooms was absolutely amazing.
It's a really good balance between the mushrooms and the Swiss, and that au jus sauce on top.
The creamy au jus sauce.
It really complements the mushrooms. Everything just works perfectly together.
It's just perfect. Every bite's perfect.
It's not just a mushroom Swiss burger, it's a Whataburger mushroom Swiss burger.
The beautiful Star in Frisco, Texas. We continue forward with week 2 of Whataburger Friday Night Stars. What a beautiful night it is throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and throughout the state of Texas as we continue in from the AC. Yes, we're bragging about it, or I'm bragging about it, but how about that? A couple great games already throughout the weekend, and we get to talk about it here on Friday Night Stars, nearing hour number 4, the final hour of Friday Night Stars today. Kyle Yeomans, Heckma Harrison, Zach Wolchuk, and the great Eric Schiafalo with us as we continue to look at this one. Now, I think a couple of these games coming up are some of the bigger games that we have just kind of not gotten to talk a whole lot about. So let's spend some extra time on some of these. We'll get one out of the way, though, that ended up kind of being a little bit of a blowout. And one of those reasons is because of a guy we spent plenty of time talking about last week, but Rockwall over Rowlett. This was quite the showcase for one young quarterback for the Rockwall Yellow Jackets, and another big offensive explosion for Rockwall overall. This was a good game overall for Rockwall, kind of rebounding after that just hard-fought battle between Highland Park and the Yellow Jackets last week.
Yeah, no fluke. This kid, Braden Locke, although he's a sophomore, he is the real deal. He backs up the literally introduction that he had last week to the world, the Texas high school football, and comes right back with a 382-yard performance, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. And when you think Jackson G was going to be the one that makes all the plays, because last week he had an insane game, J.J. Williams explodes on the scene for 4 catches, 163 yards, 40-yard average. I mean, literally, there's all big playability for those receivers.
But don't worry, Jackson Smith still had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So
you can't keep him out of the end zone.
He's still getting it done, no question. But, yeah, I can't tell you how impressed I am with Braden Locke. I think that was the big question we had with Rockwall was how do you replace Jacob Clark? You know, You've got your big-time stud out wide receiver in Jackson Smith going to Ohio State. But there's no position more important than quarterback. And here's Braden Locke, the sophomore, and dare I say it, I mean, he's playing just as good, if not better, than Jacob Clark ever played. And he's playing for the Minnesota Gophers right now.
Yeah, Locke went toe-to-toe last week with Chandler Morris, one of the best quarterbacks in the state. And Locke now has thrown for almost 1,000 yards, 951 yards, 10 touchdowns through the first 2 games of the season. Talk about bursting onto the scene, the sophomore, getting it done.
And the defense.
Fresh cash.
Only 7 points allowed, Rockwall, against this Rowlett squad. And that's a rivalry game, a game that last year got rained out. They weren't able to play. Obviously, they didn't reschedule it because it was a non-district game. They didn't need to. But Rowlett having a tough time replacing Chase Tupal at quarterback. Alex Rout getting the reins there today, 22 of 30, 660 yards. Did have a touchdown rushing, but no success really through the year today for the Rowlett Eagles.
Yeah, credit to Rockwall's defense. Finally, last week they got dominated a little bit by the Chandler Morris run, the Highland Park offense, especially in the passing game there. And so to only give up 7 points today against Rowlett, obviously not the same level of competition as when you're going up against Highland Park, but for that defense who gave up a ton of points last week, only give up 7 this week, Rockwall's got to be feeling really, really good right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you look at what Braden Locke was able to do just in the first half of that ball game. How about this? 351 yards, 4 touchdowns, and that's all in one half.
Yeah, that's all he really needs. And then you can just take the rest of the night off. You'll get the full paycheck. You only got to work half the night.
Yeah. No doubt. And this is a Rowlett team that we kind of expected a little bit of a down year from. I mean, they only scored 7 points last week, and now they turn around and they get kind of blown out the way that they did today. It's just not
last week 31-7 to Prosper. Yeah, not a great start for Rowlett.
No, not exactly what you wanted to see.
They get Plano next week though, so maybe.
Hey, there you go. That might be able to turn it. Ooh.
Sorry,
that's a little rough.
I don't know if it's a dub. Plano looked a lot better.
I thought so too.
Last night,
I thought Plano looked good last night.
No question.
South Lake Carroll on the road against Colleyville Heritage. The battle or the rivalry, the Highway 26 rivalry. Colleyville Heritage has never beaten South Lake Carroll, and it's not going to happen tonight either for Colleyville Heritage.
That's got to really be frustrating for Colleyville Heritage.
That's tough. 25-3 first downs. Look at that. That's one thing that does stand out. South Lake Carroll did turn over the ball a couple of times, but other than that, the Dragons just kind of flexed their muscles again over this Colleyville Heritage team and took them to the woodshed, as you like to say, Heckma.
Yeah, it looks like Colleyville Heritage didn't get into any kind of rhythm on offense at all. I mean, 3 first downs, that's a telling sign. Not a whole bunch of penalties in this game. Well, 5 for 32 for the Panthers, but literally the story is got to be that the Dragons defense shut them down. Brady Boyd, 6 catches, 112 yards and a TD. But other than that, not a lot on the stat sheet that jumps out at you. Quinn Ewers, 290 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, but still, the Dragons just dominated this game. If you look at it in first downs, time of possession, and all the way around, they pitched a shutout.
No doubt about it. And once again, a South Lake Carroll team that kind of, you go into the season, you don't necessarily think about them a whole lot. Of course, they're there. I mean, they're one of the most historic programs, but I think overall what Coach Dodge there is kind of brought to the forefront is that they've got a little bit of a newness and a youth to them. It's not the same South Lake Carroll that you saw back in the early 2000s. This is with his dad. This is a whole new ball club, and they're gonna have that identity pretty soon around the area as being a perennial state championship contender if they weren't already marked as that already. Byron Nelson on the road against Arlington. This was another one of our pick'em games going into the Week 2 slate.
Talk about it.
Somebody tell me how Chris Sims is doing. Anybody?
Chris Sims, 222 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 on the ground. That's 5 total.
That's pretty good.
Chris Sims.
Thank you, Chris Beam. Thank you for those effects.
One of about 100 of Walchuk's guys.
Look, I'm the only one that defended Chris Sims. You guys just had the negative attitude last week about Jahari
You're his
Rodgers.
bodyguard. You didn't defend him.
Stay away from Chris. He can be the man, and he's proven that he can.
Oh, look at you. You're poetic. Chris Sims really bringing the best out of you. You got a little twinkle in your eye.
Love me some Chris with a K. Sims.
And how about B.J. Rogers, almost 100 yards as well?
Say B.J. Raji?
No, not B.J. Rogers. And then, of course, Charles Brown, once again, getting it done for the season. He's got almost 400 yards and 5 touchdowns through the air. So Charles Brown helping out his new receiver, Chris Sims. And I do wonder about Jahari Rodgers. I mean, last week, it was a fair question coming into the game. I mean, were you correct? Ultimately, yeah, Chris Sims did a bang-up job filling in, and that was big shoes to fill of one Jahari Rodgers. But I am curious, what's Jahari up to? I kind of missed him a little bit.
He's just locked down.
He's just corner, shut down the whole side
half
of the field.
Just don't even throw my way, baby.
I want to see him pop up on the stat sheet, though. Can we get just
maybe
a little
some
wildcat
special teams?
Action,
Maybe.
We're talking about a guy that last year we were talking about Jahari Rodgers every week.
He's Friday Night Star of the Week like 100 times.
Well, now it's Chris Sims' turn.
But we got to give Coach Scott Peach some credit here.
Absolutely.
He obviously knew something about his team that he could make this change. A lot of coaches wouldn't have it.
Yeah, take the slot receiver and let's go bring him in at quarterback.
That's a hard decision to make. But obviously, he knew something about Sims' arm. He knew something about the other Rodgers that he has on his team to be able to make that and say, look, we don't have to be one-dimensional. I can actually put you over at cornerback. I don't know. It's not a popular move with the show, okay?
That's a popular move for me. Charles Brown, though, remains steady Eddie, just consistent, not a guy that we talk about a whole lot. But 7 catches, 117 yards, and a touch for him today. He's not one of those dudes that's super flashy. There's a lot of good receivers in this area. But Charles Brown is one of those guys that I think we need to start making a note of.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Every week. I mean, this guy just gets the job done. Definitely helps a guy like Chris Sims moving into that position when I've got a legitimate number 1 target on the outside.
Yeah, doesn't hurt by any means to have that on the outside as well. But I agree a little bit. Maybe we'll try and see if we can get like a Jahari Rodgers.
Just an update.
Somewhere.
Just a Jahari Rodgers update.
Just to kind of check in on him.
Just how's he doing?
A little.
We miss you.
Just a little sprinkle here, a little sprinkle there.
Yeah, just something. We'll figure something out. We'll get on Chance Williams for that one back in the room. Lancaster with a 57-14 lead over West Mesquite at the moment in a kind of blowout game there. Frisco Heritage, good night for Frisco ISD schools, by the way. Taking down Woodrow Wilson at the moment. Or actually, that one's final 43-28. But our next highlighted game, 16-6 is the score between Bishop Dunn and Skyline.
Well, is it done or is it Dune?
Yeah, it's definitely done.
Yeah, it's definitely done.
I've gotten it right. Don't worry. Negative 13 yards. Negative 13 yards for a Skyline team that we were kind of riding high on last week. How about Bishop Dunn?
Yeah,
that's pretty scary from a defensive
You went
perspective.
up a couple of octaves there. That's how shocked you were.
That's how shocked I am with the defense.
I am too. My oh my!
Holy smokes!
Yeah, you got to know Bishop Dunn has been that team like some of the other perennial powerhouses in Texas that continue to have those guys on defense. They shut Skyline out, and so in Taps with Prestonwood coming up with Parish Episcopal coming up.
Big win last night.
Hey, either way, you gotta understand that Bishop Dunn is just hanging out, chilling, waiting on their turn.
Does that say negative 13 rushing yards?
Yes,
it does. Okay.
That would be a negative.
Just wanted confirmation. And 38 passing?
That would be what that is.
Now, Skyline, without their stud quarterback, Darryl Richardson.
Wait a second. Can I read?
I'm just making sure.
Let me help you.
Is that 4 first downs?
Why don't you read a book for once?
Come on, Goggles. Let me help you.
25 total yards. Here's the thing. That Dunn defense is really, really good, obviously. But Skyline was without sophomore quarterback Darryl Richardson, who had a great game last week, went down late.
Yeah, that's an important note. That's probably the best thing he said all night, folks.
Amongst a lot of great things.
Outside of the real big limb he went out on, picking Cedar Hill to beat Denton Geyer.
Yeah, well, that was my upset of the week. So
Technically, it is an upset, I guess. Geyer is favored.
Thank you. Finally.
But it's not a, not really a
just
bold
like the
prediction.
Colony's not like
How
a
far
sleeper.
out on the limb did he go on that one?
Like half.
Okay.
Yeah, halfway out. Nothing crazy.
Maybe like a foot.
Not very long.
But
bold,
Bishop
though.
Dunn's defense has been, they were out incredible here tonight. And
Well, and it always seems like that defense is one of the best in TAPS.
Yeah.
It always seems like it's whenever
they've got a lot of athletes there on the defensive side of the ball.
Preston Wood's got the offensive weapons. Parrish usually has a solid quarterback, but it's Dunn that usually has that defense that it stands out in the TAPS level, and it seems like it's like that year in, year out.
And I think that's why we were all surprised last year when Bishop Lynch won it.
Yeah,
because of how dominant Dunn was last year. They shut guys out, and so this defense is just getting back to where they were last year. But and literally, man, I think you bring up a good point about Skyline missing their quarterback. That has a big part to do it because they gave South Oak Cliff all they can handle.
They did
yesterday. Last week.
Yeah, then you saw what happened in the second half of that game. They couldn't score. Their quarterback goes down, and their offense can't do anything. No. And then you're without him for 4 quarters tonight. That's definitely going to force you to struggle a little bit offensively. But Dunn this year, not only do they have they're packing the good defense, but last year they didn't have much to say offensively and at quarterback specifically. This year with Simeon Evans, this dude he's not going to just light up the stat sheet, but he gets it done on the ground and through the air. Big plays through the air. It's not 150 yards, but he averaged almost 20 yards per completion. So it's big plays down the field, and again, almost a little over 50 yards rushing for the quarterback as well. So just to have somebody that can do something to carry a little bit of the weight, so that defense doesn't have to go out and score all the points and force 100 turnovers and just basically shut teams out. Having a quarterback that can play a little bit is going to go a long way for Dunn.
Well, they also got the Rockwall transfer, Alex Orgy. Shocking that he transferred because that Orgy pipeline's been flooding through Rockwall. Anthony Orgy, the most recent recruit for them.
Didn't he have the hit of the year last year?
Had the hit of the year at linebacker last night. Well, Alex Orgy, he had a run for 20 yards. He also had 3 catches for 69 yards. He also threw the football. So he's kind of a Swiss Army knife as an offensive weapon there for Bishop Dunn.
Yeah.
That's what I want my quarterback to do when you talk about the quarterback for Bishop Dunn, Simeon Evans. When you have a defense as good as the one that Dunn has, they call them bus drivers, right?
Yes, just manage the game.
Don't mess it up.
Don't be a hero.
don't do it. Just, all those pedestrian yards, just get on the field, get ahead. No problem in punting it and putting our defense back on the field because we know that we're going to be able to dominate and get you the ball back in good field position.
Go be Trent Dilfer for the 2000 Ravens, right?
Nothing wrong with that.
You can make it all the way to the big game.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong.
Trent Seiden.
A lot of 17-13 victories,
Yeah.
That's the way it's going to go for Dunn.
That maybe.
If they even give up 13 points.
I feel like you might be discounting them a little bit, but I feel like they could put up some points if they really needed to as well on the other side. Now, a couple other supplemental scores. Frisco over Melissa with 2 minutes left in the third quarter. That one 38-34. Pretty good ball game down in Melissa. Now, moving on to Highland Park, we talked to Miles Dunklin in the pregame show about last week's battle with Rockwall. Zach just mentioned Rockwall again. Well, they had a matchup this week with Heckma's favorite Mesquite Horn Bunch, and it didn't necessarily work out. Much like your pick didn't work out for Mesquite Horn last year.
He
either.
loved Mesquite Horn last year.
Especially over Allen.
Talked about state championship contenders.
Yeah, it was a big game.
Yeah, it's not working out for them here either. Up by 20 in this ball game, 45-25. I was just looking and scrolling down the feed, and I also got word that they. Let me premise this. We talked about it with Matthew earlier, talking about teams maybe holding back some of the playbook. That's not the case for Randy Allen and Highland Park. They put out a triple receiver pass in this ball game.
Wow.
And chucked it deep. And got it down to the 3-yard line.
We got to say something here.
Go ahead.
All right. Does the name Doak Walker ring a bell to you?
I think it does.
A little bit, yeah.
So
like
Doak,
a Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah,
right?
Doak Walker,
Doak.
his grandson was at Highland Park. Now, I know him well because he's a goalie for lacrosse. So does Kyle.
He's laxy.
We've done some lax calls, and he's an outstanding goalie. But he got into this game and ran for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So to see Doak Walker on a score sheet for Highland Park, however many years after his great-grandfather did this, unbelievable.
That's cool.
It's just neat to see the name Doak Walker.
No, it is. You're right. That's a big one. Heck, I'm surprised you're not just absolutely just falling all over the place for
well,
this.
I'm the triple receiver pass. I'm
still got your head spinning a little bit.
You want to see this triple?
I thought it was coming next. So
yeah.
I'm sorry, Chandler Morris, my man. I'm just happy that Chandler's going to make it through this game without having to be Mr. All Everything. I mean, 210 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He's human. Oh my God. Can you believe that?
A little bit.
Only 4 touchdowns for Morris tonight, too. Maybe it was a little
only
bit slow
4.
Night. Yeah, only
he's
4.
only got 13 in the first 2 weeks of the season. No darn. No big deal. Now, I kind of want to go back to that, though, Zach, because you talked about Doak Walker. They still have a locker in the Highland Park locker room at Highlander Stadium that's dedicated and in a glass case to Doak Walker and his Heisman Trophy. Like, it's really cool.
One of the greatest to ever do it.
And his grandson gets to go in and play. I wonder if
phenomenal.
he's wearing 16, which is the number that Doak Walker did wear.
He does for lacrosse, so it would make sense that he would for football as well.
I don't know. I haven't gotten to see it yet.
I didn't know that he actually was. It's got to be.
I believe so.
I think so as well.
I don't remember having it last year.
We'll check with Miles Dunklin. I honestly didn't know that he played on the football team as well. But he's got the most recent touchdown for the Scotties, 5-yard touchdown run. I'm sure that's something if we have Guy call in, the Guy will have more information on that as well for us.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then kind of going to, of course, Doak Walker, SMU, Heisman Trophy winner. We'd be remiss, of course, as UNT alumnus in the building. Big rivalry game tomorrow just down the road.
Hey,
UNT,
beat SMU, baby. Let's go Mean Green.
The Safeway Bowl back at it again. So go Mean Green. Got to throw that out there as well. Moving on.
Call.
How about South Oak Cliff and Duncanville?
Heckma, take it away. Your
Big
Golden
game,
Bears
Heckma.
getting a big win tonight, huh?
Coach speak with Coach Todd. Everybody's fired up. Sock's going to go in there.
That was a really good interview, guys.
You did a fantastic
job.
job.
This.
Looks like we got a little highlight action.
Heckma, are you going to talk about your game?
I think Duncanville's got a new
I know
feel.
you're sad about this. But
Why you said you also like Duncanville?
Well, look, man, it obviously didn't turn out anything like I thought, right?
It rarely does.
It did tonight. But Jaquindon Jackson on the screen pass right here, and the guy reverses field, comes all the way back across, and man, my God, the reason, I mean, he had to run. He had to run 50 yards for a -1 yard play, but nothing went right tonight for South Oak Cliff. I mean, this is a bobble snap on a punt. They literally, the first half, South Oak Cliff, Duncanville played the whole first half in South Oak Cliff's in their possession, on their field, on their side of the field, and it just.
Big credit to South Oak Cliff though, because they avoid the shutout. Right, they get the field goal in the third quarter just so they could go home and know that they didn't actually get shut out.
Was it Sun Tzu that said, never outshine the master in the art of war? Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what's going on right now with Jason Todd. It's a mental thing. He's just not trying to outshine the master right now because, God almighty, this got ugly. 42-3.
Well, who didn't have a good game, and it might be because they barely played, is Jaquindon Jackson. Jaquindon, 6 of 13, 49 yards and a pick.
Yikes. Then he
had -13 yards on the ground. And some of that might have to do with sacks, but Jaquindon Jackson, who you would think in a game that Duncanville wins 42-3 or is up in the fourth quarter 42-3, would have had a monster stat line. I'm not sure if something happened with Jaquindon Jackson, but it's Chris Parson who's 3 for 3 with 100 yards and a touchdown for Duncanville. But my dude Tristan Smith.
You said it was going to be the Tristan Smith game.
He set the tone early. He took the first play for a touchdown. I really do believe this is one of those games, though, and it's nothing against South Oak Cliff. I know we're kind of having some fun here. This was a game that they were probably going to be outmatched. I mean, I understand, Coach Todd, he's going to talk this game up, but it's a 5A, 6A. You've got that differentiation between the classifications. Obviously, Duncanville's going to have more depth. They're probably going to be a bigger, more physical team. And they're the state runner-up, defending state runner-up, that have expectations to go right back to the state championship game. So I think this was one of those where you saw Duncanville play a lot of their second and third teamers and give some of the starters the night off.
And you look at the attrition model when guys are graduating and you bring in, and that's what I was looking at. It's just the overall team speed of South Oak Cliff. It's not like a 1A, 1B. It's just the fact that one's 5A, one's 6A. Mm-hmm. Both athletes on both sides of the ball. The difference is for South Oak Cliff is just finding a quarterback that's going to be able to get their playmakers the ball.
So are you not a believer in Rodney Hudson? He's certainly inconsistent, but he's shown flashes.
Well, I just think that, going back to what you just mentioned, I think once they get into district play, he'll be able to get his confidence back up. Last week, man, if it were not for a Skyline's quarterback going out, I don't know if South Oak Cliff actually wins that ball game.
They might have started
because they were in a brass knuckle fight.
You're right.
With Skyline.
Yeah, he only completed 4 passes last week, right?
Right, and so at that point, you become one-sided. You can only do one thing, but knowing Coach Todd the way that I do, he's probably trying to get this kid some confidence. You don't get a lot of that versus the Duncanville defense, right?
No, but
you're not going to get that.
What are they called this year again? The Death Row defense?
The South Oak Cliff.
That's South Oak.
Yeah, South Oak Cliff is Death Row.
Not living up to that.
Well, look, you're not going to play a better team than Duncanville.
No.
And I know Aledo
number 1 in 6A
is a
right
team
now
that they'll have to beat in the playoffs if they want to, but without question, throughout the regular season, South Oak Cliff has now played the best team that they'll play all year.
A lot of that goes back to what you talk about with those schools that are trying to put themselves on the map. They play that tough schedule at the beginning. So, I mean, I'm sure Jason Todd could have scheduled a Sunset High School if he just wanted to win. Shout out to everybody that went to Sunset, okay? But I'm just saying, if he just wanted an easy win, a cupcake schedule to walk into the playoffs, he would schedule teams like that. But look, there are no moral victories in this. You go back, you look at the tape, you see what you did wrong, and you understand that, look, we're going to have to start doing some things in special teams. They had a punt that only went 10 yards. I mean, and I don't care who you play. If you punt the ball,
blocked.
Well, look.
Yeah.
If it goes 10 yards, you're not going to have a lot of success.
No doubt.
Okay? And either way.
I thought that was a good thing.
It's not going to happen for you.
Yeah, you're wrong on that one, unless you're 10 yards out, I guess. But what was the thing so Coach Todd on Twitter last week went on after the comeback win that South Oak Cliff had, he went back on and he had a picture of a drawing that he had on
the measure of a man.
Measure of a man.
Right.
Kind of explain that a little bit, because that's kind of what might have to happen with this South Oak Cliff team moving forward.
Well, there's a great speech or a poem by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that talks about the measure of a man and just saying, when you face adversity, what do? Do you run, or do you face the challenge that's ahead of you? And so that's the measure of a man. And Coach Reginald Samples was a poem that he made us all remember. And so that's the part that he wanted to say to his team. Are you guys, now that you face adversity, now that everyone has picked you to win your district and possibly go far in the playoffs, what are you going to do now that you have this adversity against you? And that's what he wrote on the board. Yeah, so
wrote that last week. Of course, they came back and won that football game, and then turn around and they had a little bit of a tough test this week, no doubt about that, but just didn't turn out the way.
I'm glad they didn't schedule Duncanville for homecoming. That's for sure.
No, yeah, that would not
make
have been
that
good.
mistake, would you?
Gosh, what a mistake!
Whoever does have Duncanville for homecoming, that's a rough one.
Somebody does.
Someone does.
You schedule
Someone
around
does
that. You do not do
you
that.
make homecoming week 1 if you have to. Get me out of here.
Oh man, we've got a lot more games to go back through and talk about some of the other scores from throughout the area, but we're going to take a little bit of a break here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars, week 2 of the Texas high school football season. We continue to roll through it here from the Star in Frisco when we return here on FNS.
Hey, I'm Jack. We started SeatGeek because we want fans to have a better, more transparent ticket buying experience. With SeatGeek, you can see the best deals and buy tickets, all with a price match guarantee. The only thing we can't guarantee is that your team will win. So use the code TICKETS20 at checkout for $20 off your first order.
Get excited, Whataburger fans. Our one-of-a-kind mushroom Swiss burger is back.
And now it's an all-time favorite.
If you love mushrooms, you're going to love this burger.
The double cheese, the mushrooms was absolutely amazing.
It's a really good balance between the mushrooms and the Swiss, and that au jus sauce on top.
The creamy au jus sauce.
It really complements the mushrooms. Everything just works perfectly together.
It's just perfect. Every bite's perfect.
It's not just a mushroom Swiss burger, it's a Whataburger mushroom Swiss burger.
It's in all of us, and we won't hold it back. Not one little bit. Nope, we embrace it, letting it fuel our passions, pushing us deeper than we thought possible and keeping us curious. It's what sets us apart from the herd. It's how we come up with the ideas that make people say, why didn't I think of that? See, when you nurture the creativity and passion that's in all of us, you'll learn nothing is out of reach.
It's game day. A day that should be spent in the living room, not the kitchen. So next game, you just worry about the score. Because we've got the food covered. With hand-battered, cooked-to-order, always fresh, never, ever frozen chicken fingers. Craveable cane sauce. Crispy crinkle-cut fries, and jugs of freshly made tea and lemonade. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, one love.
Go Cowboys!
I won it.
I can't believe it. That cow brought his karaoke machine?
Nothing but a heartache.
No, I can't believe how easy it was to save hundreds of dollars on my car insurance with Geico.
Tell me why you'd say.
Go, Kevin. Go, Kevin. No.
Believe it, Geico could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Back here from the beautiful Star in Frisco as we continue here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Week 2, Texas high school football season. It's been fun, guys.
Has it?
Lots of
Should
good games.
see your hair right now.
It's been real. It's been
Good
fun.
Lord, you come running in here,
I
breaks
know.
about down. I mean, this
Gracious.
what goes on
I'll fix
behind
it.
the scenes, in between the commercial breaks.
We're all good, though.
Woo!
just-
Yeah,
We're ready to go.
we are cooking. Hey.
Absolutely. You know who was cooking? What is that?
No, I was just repeating what Walchuk said, which was, hey.
Well, we've got a final down in Central Texas at Waco La Vega down at Willie Williams Stadium where the Pirates, defending champs, have fallen at the 5A or 4A Division I level. Argyle gets their revenge, second straight regular season win over La Vega in a 2-score ball game, and another great game for Bo Hogaboom and company for that Argyle Eagles squad. But this is another big game for Argyle, kind of a redemption story a little bit, but also just a chance for a statement win earlier in the year, and they definitely got that in one of the highlight games of the state of Texas here this week.
Yeah, to be able to do that on the road. I mean, look at the first down difference, 27-9. That's how you know you won the trenches. And we came into this game knowing that Argyle probably had the quarterback advantage, but who was going to win the battle of the trenches? That O-line, that D-line. It looks like Argyle got the best of La Vega, particularly in that first half. Give credit to La Vega for fighting through. They open up the third quarter, they get a quick touchdown, make it a 2-score game, and they really shut down the Argyle offense for most of the second half. They got a cheap score there at the end, but otherwise La Vega came out in the second half, did what they needed to do. They were just, they dug themselves too big of a hole in that first half, and Hogaboom and company, man, holy smokes. Tito Bice over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
43 carries for Tito Bice.
Monster.
I know we're going to focus on Bo Hogaboom, but Tito Bice was the story of this game for me. 43 carries. That's 2 games' work. And that's like a heavy 2 games. If you're getting 20 carries as a running back, it's a big day at the office. 43 carries, 206 yards, 3 touchdowns, just under 5 yards a touch. Tito Bice had the game-winning touchdown drive at the end with 2 seconds left to go. He touched the ball on every single play of the final drive. I'm sure the atmosphere was amazing. This is a huge win for Argyle. I understand that they won it last year in the regular season, but to go to La Vega, the team that knocked you out in the regional final, a game that I knew would be close. I think we all knew it would be pretty close. I mean, this is a pick'em game. Number 1 ranked team versus number 3 ranked team in 4A football. What a win for Argyle here tonight. And I can't wait to hear from Guy about what this one was like. And I know he caught up with Bo Hogaboom as well.
Yeah, he absolutely did. We do have Guy on the phone. We'll get to that Bo Hogaboom interview here in just a moment. But Guy, you were down in Waco for this ball game, and overall, you said it earlier, kind of off air. You said, hey, this is probably the top game in the state because of what is kind of represented here in this Week 2 matchup with last year's regular season, last year's postseason being represented. But overall, what were your thoughts on that Argyle win, and was this a statement win for a team that's trying to get back to a state championship?
Boy, fellas, didn't that game live up to it? That was a Jim Dandy down here in Belmead. That was definitely a measuring stick type game for both programs, and I got to tip your hat to Argyle. They beat La Vega at their own game. You know, and one of my main points ahead of time was who was going to out-physical the other team, and you know, Argyle definitely did that with Tito Bice, you know, putting 206 yards and 3 touchdowns alone on the ground. So they definitely had a balanced attack and really kind of bullied La Vega in the trenches. I want to make a quick note. I actually misspoke in the interview and said he rushed for 103. I think that was his halftime rush stat line. So 206 for Bice. I think that's kind of the story of the game.
Wow. Overall, I mean, just another game that you – it wasn't all Bo Hogaboom, but you talk about the battle of the trenches, and that was one of the keys that we had going into that ball game. But how good was Argyle on the front line and even defensively, what they were able to do with that front seven?
Right. Well, you know, starting off on the O-line, I was shocked just standing on the sideline how big their offensive linemen were. I mean, they were especially big for 4A level football, but you can make the argument they were big just for about any level of high school football. They had some pretty big dudes. They also have a really big tight end as well as a kid that moved in from California. And he was big tonight in the play action stuff. So, you know, they had a lot of big guys up front, really kind of outsized La Vega's front seven. And then you flip it on the other side of the ball, and they weren't huge on the front seven on defense for Argyle, but they were really disciplined, stayed at home, and really just played solid football tonight.
Hey, Guy, let me ask you this, man. As far as coming into this game, we talked about Argyle kind of having revenge on their mind. First half, they stuck it to them. When did the letdown occur, or when did La Vega say, okay, it's time for us to come back in this game?
Well, there was actually a couple points in the first half where it looked like Argyle was going to kind of go for the Pirates' jugular a little bit, and La Vega threw a couple big plays, including Elijah Cummings' 84-yard screen pass touchdown, you know, kind of kept them around and kept at 21 points at halftime. And then they just kind of chipped away, Heckma. They needed a couple stops in the second half. And, you know, me and Matthew Allen Bryce were talking about that, and they finally got one of the stops they needed. And through a heavy dosage of Jarquay Walton, they moved it down the field before throwing a touchdown pass in the corner of the end zone that cut to 7. And then after that, we got to get one more stop here if you're the Pirates. They got a couple of those stops. They just never could do anything with the ball, and thus end up losing by, you know, well, Argyle put another score on with 2 seconds left, but basically a 7-point game before that happened at the very end.
Guy, you brought up Tito Bice as being the story of this game. I mean, 43 carries. Did they have to carry him off the field on a stretcher, or put some IVs in to give him some fluids? I mean, how in the world did Tito Bice handle that workload?
Right. Well, I mean, think about it, Chuck. We were talking about John Richards last year in that regional final game for La Vega and the efforts that some of these La Vega backs have put on in the past in these games. And look at Tito Bice stepping up. If I recall last week in Stephenville, they weren't really all that effective. And one of the key things I kind of was thinking is they need to really have a balanced attack tonight. And they put the ball in his hands. And, I mean, give him credit. He carried them. And, yeah, they're probably going to have to give him an IV on the bus on the way back north to DFW. But, you know, when you're victorious, it always feels better.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to take anything away from Argyle. They deserve a lot of the praise here tonight. But what did you think of Landry Kinney as the new starting quarterback for La Vega?
Well, you know, I think I need to see some more data points on him and just see how this goes throughout the season. He was only 7 for 17 through the air, and you know, they only had 9 first downs throughout the game. When they did complete some passes and get some big plays, they were for long touchdowns where their athletes kind of outmatched Argyle. That was probably the one thing that La Vega had on Argyle tonight was athletes in space, which is not too big of a shocker when you look at the teams from the past. But, That's where Landry kind of feasted, was on plays like that where he was able to get his guys the ball in space, and then they make one guy miss and gone to the house. But as far as, threat through the air, I would probably give the nod to Hogaboom. He was much more efficient tonight. I think he's 12 for 20. And, that Argyle offense in the first half was unstoppable. I think they had like 380 yards or something like that, and Bo was a big part of that.
Guy Frazier joining us here from Waco as he was at Argyle and La Vega as the Eagles get the win and move forward in their quest for a 4A championship. Guy, thanks so much. We'll talk to you next week, man.
Hang on, fellas. Let me add one more thing. How about those Lone Star Rangers putting up a 75-0 thumping?
Yeah.
I'm excited for that game with the Scots next week, right?
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Actually, Guy, I'm glad you brought up the Scots. Doak Walker had a 4-yard touchdown run. That's the last score update that we've gotten from Highland Park in Mesquite Horn. I was unaware that Doak even was on the football team. We know that he's a big-time goaltender in lacrosse, but
right.
Does he also wear 16? Is he repping his grandpa's number?
No, in the past he hasn't, and I don't believe he is this year. But quite the lineage to come from, and he's going to be a guy for the Scotties this year. I don't know if Miles has talked about it a whole lot with y'all yet, but I think he's going to be kind of their goal line type back. I mean, his build, Chuck. He's built like bowling balls.
He's a small guy.
He's a small guy, but he's thick, and he runs hard. So good for him getting a score tonight.
That's pretty awesome overall. I mean, like you said, Guy would know.
Cool. It's pretty cool, man.
Guy would know if that was the case. But Guy Frazier joining us here on Friday Night Stars. Guy, thanks so much, man.
Hey, appreciate it, fellas.
And Guy got a chance, like you said, Zach, to catch up with Bo Hogaboom and the winning quarterback. It's Bo time in Argyle, and let's go ahead and talk to Bo Hogaboom after that big win for the Eagles.
Friday Night Stars regional final here at Willie Williams Stadium in Belmead, where the Argyle Eagles defeat Waco La Vega 49-35. Here with senior quarterback for Argyle, Bo Hogaboom. Bo, first off, just let me know what it was like to get this big win tonight. I know it's a little bit of a rivalry between you two going back to last year. Talk about getting this win tonight.
It's a great win. It's always fun playing La Vega because they're a great team. But, it was a good win and seeing where we're at and where we need to be, and we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, it was a good measuring stick game for y'all. Now, last week you threw for 5 touchdowns. Now tonight you had another 4, 237 yards through the air. What's been working for y'all in the passing attack so far through 2 weeks?
Our line has been doing very good. Our line's really good. They're getting better and better every week. And then our receivers, the connection we have is just something that you can't stop. It's a really good feeling.
There you go. Now, Tito tonight was able to establish a running game and get a little bit of balance for y'all tonight. Talk about his game and putting up 103 yards, and I think 2 or 3 touchdowns as well.
He did amazing. Just the way that he ran the ball, the way that he picked shoulders, just ran through. He took so many hits tonight. He just did so good, and it helped our passing game tremendously.
And last thing is, if you were to get these guys again in the playoffs like last year, I'm sure y'all would be up for the challenge. Talk about the possibility of that happening.
It's a good possibility. They're a great team. They're they're probably gonna make it there. We're a great team. We have the chance to make it there. So just getting that game again would be really fun, and it'd be a great game.
Bo, congrats on the big win tonight. Good job yourself, and I'm sure we'll see you down the road.
Thank you.
Hogaboom! Looking sharp too. I like the eye paint, the face paint. He's got some pretty nice set of hair too.
Yeah,
for Hogaboom. I didn't know he had such great hair.
Yeah, it is, man.
Good for him, man.
It's my quarterback.
I hope we get to see.
That is your quarterback.
Hope we get to see a rematch of those two. And I hope they keep playing in non-district play.
I agree.
La Vega doesn't have anything to hold their head down about. I mean, you look at the stat sheet.
Wait a minute. Are you trying to say we got a moral victory?
We got a moral victory.
Let's take a moral victory lap, Kyle.
Yeah, let's come on. What is that? Does that make sense?
What's a moral victory?
What's that? Anyway, either way, when you look at the stats, man, and besides Tito Bice and the kid needs a cryo chamber. 43 carries.
Yeah, just make sure you put on the right footwear.
Well, either way, that's the difference maker in this game. I mean, look, the lead that Argyle jumped out to, there's no way that La Vega was even supposed to be in this game. But I think the guy said it best. If you look at the playmakers that La Vega has, and they're going to be a problem because they have the athletes. It seems to me, if you go through the stat sheet, you see that La Vega, even though they played from behind, they had an opportunity based off of the big playability that they have.
Big win for Argyle overall, and I do hope they play again. I really do, and I think that La Vega team's going to turn things around, and they're going to be right back where they were last year, man. They're going to figure it all out, and they're going to be right back up there contending in the 4A ranks. Continuing forward, let's go to Saxe and Euless Trinity. Euless Trinity, a final earlier today that we looked at, 17-10. The Trinity Trojans running the football again, a very classic 17-10 win, like Eric said earlier, for the Trinity Trojans, or 21-19. Sorry, excuse me. I was looking back at last week's win over Midway, but another solid win with 300-plus yards of running the football overall, and Trinity comes back out on top again.
Yeah, A.J. Barnett getting it done on the ground. Marcus Irvin at the quarterback position. We know that these guys don't throw the ball very much, and you can see the evidence of that, only 81 yards, but 306 rushing yards on the ground tonight. And Marcus Irvin at the quarterback spot, 11 carries, 105 yards. And credit that Trinity defense. They got put in a bad spot at the end of that game. There was a mishandled punt situation. Saxe got the ball deep in Trinity territory. 4 plays later, they punch it in for a touchdown, down by 2. The Trinity defense has to get a stop because Saxe's going for 2, try to tie the game up with just under 2 minutes left, and the defense steps up, makes a big play, and that's what you get from Trinity, man. They're consistent. They bring good defense to the field, and you know they're going to bring a great running game, and they'll win these 21 and 19 point games for pretty much the rest of time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And they continue to run the football as well as can be. Final from Jesuit, DeSoto takes down the Jesuit Rangers 55-27. The final score in that ball game, and almost 700 yards of total offense for the DeSoto Eagles. And that's starting to turn into quite the scary team with DeSoto and what they're bringing to the table, guys.
Yeah, the reigning, they fell short in terms of winning that District of Doom with Lake Ridge and Cedar Hill, and they're certainly putting their name in the hat as a contender to win that difficult district. And Collier was outstanding tonight. Heckman, you talked about that earlier, but a total of 6 touchdowns is what he finished with. Rance Holman did everything he could for Jesuit, but it just wasn't enough. And without E.J. Smith in the backfield, it certainly makes things difficult. But a 55 spot put up there by DeSoto. The Eagles, a couple of really good wins here to start the year.
Yeah, 438 yards passing. And it just seems to be that they're very balanced if you look at what they're doing from a passing perspective and also rushing. Man, 687 yards total, and again, it's the things that they're doing as a team, not having a bunch of penalties, 4 for 35, 32 first downs. I mean, they dominated this game, and so DeSoto in what you call it the District of Doom.
Yep.
They have a bunch of games that they got coming on the horizon where they're going to have to play pretty sound, and I like the way that they look right now. And against opponents they should be beating. And you saw, right after halftime, they were down by, Jesuit was down by 7 points. What did DeSoto do? They just put their foot on the gas and just extended the lead.
Yeah,
good homecoming for Claude Mathis.
Yeah, it's the second week in a row that Jesuit struggles putting up points in the second half. Only 7 last week, none in tonight's game, and the loss of E.J. Smith, once again, I mean, missing the first 2 games of the year with that sprained ankle. Obviously not what Jesuit was planning for. Jake Taylor stepped up in a big way last week in the loss, and then Rance Holman at quarterback. He had a nice game last week, not quite good enough. Same thing tonight. But we talked about it. You know, you want to get E.J. Smith healthy for district, and this team, I don't think the scoreboard is really indicative of how well Jesuit played, at least in that first half. Jesuit was really out there fighting, and they're going to feel pretty good about Rance Holman, who's getting a couple of games, couple of starts under his belt, get his confidence going a little bit, and then you get E.J. Smith hopefully back for district play. That's going to help Jesuit out. But big game for DeSoto, 6 touchdown passes for Collier, which is a huge game, confidence builder for him, young quarterback, junior. Didn't have a great game last week, but didn't have to against Permian. Had a huge one tonight, and the athleticism of DeSoto really just jumps out of you. The 3-headed monster at running back, too, with Jason Brown, Chris Henley, and Robert Richardson. Richardson was sort of the bell cow tonight, but having Collier at the quarterback spot and then 3 running backs you can depend on. We know they got athletes galore over there at DeSoto. They're looking pretty good, fellas.
Yeah. I tell you what, man, I wanted to say last Sunday, DeSoto was at my church.
Oh, really?
The whole squad?
The whole squad.
Did you give them some love?
I gave them a whole bunch of love, man, and those are some big kids.
Yeah,
some big boys.
They're fast.
They've
They're
got
big.
some big
What
kids.
is it?
Speaking about that district, the district of Doom, Mansfield Lake Ridge taking on Kyle, your alma mater, Waco Midway, and the Panthers. They get the win, 43-35.
Wow.
At Midway, big
That's
win for Mansfield
surprising to
Lake
me.
Ridge. Yeah, and Adrian Hawkins, 31 of 40. Had 3 touchdowns, a couple of picks, 370 yards through the air. They also ran the ball very well with Miles Featherstone. He had 12 carries, 101 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But a big win there for Lake Ridge going up and taking on a Waco Midway in non-district play.
Yeah, that is a big win for Lake Ridge. But I kind of want to go back to something you said. You talked about the fast starts for Jesuit and the Rangers overall, and then they just haven't been able to finish. They're going to find the finish later in the year whenever they're not playing teams with the caliber of Arlington and of DeSoto in their first 2 weeks of the season, trying to figure some things out and put their feet back underneath them without a guy like E.J. Smith to run the football with. I think this is going to be a Jesuit team in that district that is going to try and make a little bit of noise within 9-6A, and we're not going to hear the last of the Jesuit Rangers by any means.
And they miss E.J. Smith not only on the ground but through the air as well. Last year he had 500 yards through the air. He had plenty of touchdowns through the air as well. So I mean, he's really an all-purpose back. That's a lot of production that is out of their lineup when he's not there. So it's really invaluable to have him. And once he comes back, hopefully it's sooner rather than later. Yeah, that offense will turn up a notch.
Another Friday final. Dickinson putting up a score late on Allen, but ultimately the Allen Eagles take down Dickinson 38-24, and the Gators are chomped at Allen Eagles Stadium this week. And once again, Allen continues to keep on rolling, holding that running game to just underneath 70 yards. I mean, that's tough to do with any team, especially in high school football, but that's just a dominant defensive line is what that is.
Yeah, and it's impressive because Mike Welch is one of the better quarterbacks in the state for the Dickinson Gators. Only 12 of 25 today, had 2 touchdowns through the air, but like you said, they did a great job slowing down the run game. Darrell Harris did a little bit of damage through the air as a receiver for Dickinson, but Raylan Sharp, this kid's taking over for Grant Tisdale, and he did it with his arm tonight, 16 of 30, 201 yards, 4 touchdowns, did have a pick. Keldon Manning came in and kind of closed this one out, 15 carries, 103 yards on the ground, but just a wealth of receiving depth for Allen. Last year, Theo Weiss was the guy, and we kind of stopped there. But this year, it's Darian Sherfield, it's Bryson and Blaine Green, they've got 3 really quality receivers there at Allen to make plays there for Raylan Sharp, who can get it done, we know, with his legs. But tonight, the impressive part was he got it done with his arm.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time when we talk about Allen just looking for their weaknesses. We looking for something to say, hey, they're not going to repeat, but they keep coming right back. Theo Weiss and Grant Tisdale last year, these guys were outstanding, and it took a phenomenal effort by Duncanville to beat those guys. But this kid, Raylan Sharp,
They're calling him the truth, man.
Whoa, Raylan Sharp is he's definitely going to be somebody that we have to recognize. But again, Dickinson. If we could look at anything to say that maybe Allen, we need to look at this, is the fact that Allen gave up 269 yards in the air, right? And so maybe we're looking at an Allen team that's maybe weaker on the backside. If they have any weaknesses at all, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, well, and they're down. They only had 2 returning starters on defense, so you expect a little bit of growing pains from them. The good thing is they only gave up 69 rushing yards, which is pretty good.
Right.
So that's good there for them. But yeah, absolutely. And Dickinson, who had to travel 6 hours to come play, not the easiest thing in the world, and then to go play at Allen, which is one of the toughest places in all of the state to have to play. And of course, Allen gets to play there week in, week out.
No doubt about it. And we continue looking through some of these games, but we're going to take one more final break here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. When we come back, we'll run down the rest of the scores, give you all the Friday finals from throughout the area, and get you ready for Week 3 of Texas high school football in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We'll be back in a moment here on Friday Night Stars.
Hi there, this is Dak Prescott. When it comes time to shop for my tailgate favorites, I go to my stores, Albertsons and Tom Thumb, where they offer fresh organics and large assortments of local produce and sell only USDA choice meats. Get 10% off of your groceries every Dallas Cowboy game day when you wear your Cowboy jerseys. Albertsons and Tom Thumb, the winning combination and the official supermarket and pharmacy of the Dallas Cowboys.
Gear up for back to sport at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
It's in all of us, and we won't hold it back. Not one little bit. Nope, we embrace it, letting it fuel our passions, pushing us deeper than we thought possible and keeping us curious. It's what sets us apart from the herd. It's how we come up with the ideas that make people say, why didn't I think of that? See, when you nurture the creativity and passion that's in all of us, you'll learn nothing is out of reach.
Ashley Home Store, the #1 furniture and mattress store in America. We have all the major mattress brands at a guaranteed low price. Plus, we have furniture for every room in the house and decorator accessories to make it yours. With multiple locations, personalized service from knowledgeable associates, and convenient finance plans to fit your budget. Ashley Home Store, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys. This is home.
Get excited, Whataburger fans. Our one-of-a-kind mushroom Swiss burger is back.
And now it's an all-time favorite.
If you love mushrooms, you're going to love this burger.
The double cheese, the mushrooms was absolutely amazing.
It's a really good balance between the mushrooms and the Swiss, and that au jus sauce on top.
The creamy au jus sauce.
It really complements the mushrooms. Everything just works perfectly together.
It's just perfect. Every bite's perfect.
It's not just a mushroom Swiss burger, it's a Whataburger mushroom Swiss burger.
Final segment here of Whataburger Friday Night Stars, here from the Star in Frisco, Texas, home to the world champion Dallas Cowboys, and they're going to look for number 6 on that list starting this week.
Yeah, they're on the quest to Miami.
Yeah, they are.
Super Bowl 54
to be world champs.
They've got a pretty solid piece returning. As of the last time we recorded this show.
Yeah, it looks like Blake Jarwin's going to be healthy for week
good.
1. So it's nice to have him back.
That's big.
Really big.
Ezekiel Elliott's back in the house.
Yes, he is.
Oh, that too.
Zeke is back. Zeke who? That's who. Zeke is back in Dallas. Now, lots of games to run down. We're going to quickly go through these final scores here over the last 15 minutes here of Whataburger Friday Night Stars in week 2.
Fuego Rapido?
A little bit of Fuego Rapido. Frisco Independence and Memorial back here at Whataburger Friday Night Stars.
Can you just say Rapido one more time?
Rapido! 49-20 the final score in this one. Braxton getting the job done.
Braxton?
Passing the ball, running the ball. He does it all for Independence. And another big win for Coach Torrey and company. And once again, is this an Independence team to reckon with after a win like this?
Definitely.
Yeah, with Braxton at quarterback, who's he? Dwayne Braxton?
Baby
Dwayne.
BD.
Yeah, with him there at the helm, absolutely. They're certainly a force to be reckoned with. And we said it, that Thursday night matchup, October 10th, right here at the Star in Frisco against Lone Star. That's the one you circle on your calendar about a month away. That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, we'll see how good Independence is.
Yeah, that's going to be a good
Lone Star
test.
is a beast.
Well, let's move on to that Lone Star team, and we know exactly what they did tonight to Denton, 75-0.
Now, what'd you say about Denton? You said something about Denton actually. Never mind.
Yeah, no.
Just
throw that all out the window.
Didn't work out for the Broncos. They didn't even play and put up a single point tonight. I don't think Landry Kinney could have saved them.
Nobody could have. Where did that come from?
The Beamsters bringing the heat tonight.
75-0. I think it's Matt Kent doing that.
Matt Kent.
75-0. This defense is looking pretty good.
What's the first down disparity there? 28-5?
Hold on, wait. You said defense is looking pretty good? I know there's a 0 up there, but I feel like the thing that stands out is the 75.
I see defense when I see 75.
Is it not maybe the 694 total yards maybe? That's
4 touchdowns on the air.
I see 63 yards rushing, 48 yards passing. I mean, to pitch that goose
Marvin
egg.
Mims, 3 touchdowns.
I see where you're going with that, but we got a matchup next week, guys. It's going to be something to see.
Yeah, your boy Jalen Ford.
Yeah.
Is he going to stay in and spy Chandler Morris all night, or what's going on?
He's going to play. He's going to play tough like he does every game, and one mistake, man, it may end it. Because number 24 it's good night Irene when number 24 is on the field.
What about number 4 Chandler Morris for Highland Park, though?
I mean, I believe
that's going to be a great matchup, man. Like that is legitimately.
Second year we've seen it. And hopefully it's a
it
little
might
more
be better.
offensive.
I think it's going to be better
than
this year.
last year's meeting.
And we get Birdville and Flower Mound next week. Is that correct?
No, it's Flower Mound and Prosper.
Flower Mound
Yes,
and Prosper.
correct.
Prosper.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
apologies.
Other
there.
green team.
But that's going to be that's another fun one on the docket for next
Absolutely.
week as well.
Well, is there a chance? Would it be too over the top to say
Yes.
that next week's Highland Park and then Frisco Lone Star matchup could be the game of the year?
I can't.
Last week's
Yeah.
game
Last
against
week, I mean,
Rockwall
come on,
was pretty incredible.
That was pretty
I don't know that we're
close.
going to
That's
put a
pretty
game
good.
of the. I mean, today Argyle, Waco, La Vega was pretty
That
big.
was pretty good.
And we might have some district games later on in the season. You know, DeSoto and Cedar Hill, I think, play the final week of the year. We've got some other ones, but that's certainly, in terms
up
of
there.
5A, might be the game of the year in 5A.
Yeah, very much so. It might be the lone 5A team that can really challenge that Scotty's ball club that's looking to go in four-peat at that level. Continuing forward, Frisco Reedy taken down by the Colony. The Colony Cougars make it an impact win over Frisco Reedy. This is not the same Reedy squad we saw in 2018. However, the Colony putting up some pretty impressive numbers, over 470 yards of total offense, and most of that through the air. This is a Colony team that I know, Zach, you've kept your eye on, but even last year, this is a squad that ran the football, and that was their identity. That's not their identity this year, though.
Yeah, Harrington through the year, 5 touchdowns today, 335 yards. Miles Price was the recipient of 9 catches, 224 yards, and a couple of scores for him. He's a do-it-all athlete, can play running back and receiver. They also have Keith Miller on the outside. Frisco Reedy certainly trying to find an identity for them. Last year, they were one of the best offenses in the state, led by Foskey.
Yeah, they averaged almost 400 yards a game last year.
And this year, they're trying to figure out who is their quarterback. Is it Kitna? Is it Paget? We're trying to still figure that out. And Reedy's got a couple more games to go until they get into district play to go ahead and say, all right, are we a run-heavy team? Who's our quarterback moving forward? But the Colony, man, they look like a well-oiled machine. They are a team to be reckoned with.
Yeah, they're putting it together. Mikey Harrington, Price, and like you call Price, a utility knife. What you call him? A utility knife?
Swiss Army knife.
Swiss Army knife. This kid can do it all. He got a little bit of everything. 9 catches, 224 yards. That's a lot for a guy that's mainly a running back.
Over 50 yards rushing as well. Plays corner. Last week he got an interception.
I
You
think
can
this
take
is
returns for a touchdown.
The best Colony team they've ever had.
I would agree with you.
In the program's history.
Wow.
That's big.
High praise. I mean, that's a Colony team that has had a lot of good football over the course of their program, but I wouldn't necessarily disagree either. Coppell with a big 17-10 win over Hearst LD Bell. Coppell rebounding after their loss to Saxe last week, but Coppell Cowboys putting up not the most impressive numbers, but they were able to squeak one out in this one, though.
Hey, like I said, man, you could have played quarterback for LD Bell today.
I'd had a better completion percentage.
You probably would have
less rushing yards, but better completion percentage.
Yeah, LD Bell is that team that they're definitely not going to pass the ball around a lot. But they got behind early and they just couldn't make the difference in this score. Coppell pulls out one.
How about the Prosper Eagles 2-0 in their new stadium? After a 31-7 win over Rowlett last week, they turn around and take down Keller Timber Creek in emphatic fashion. And once again, running the football. This is a team that was a passing-oriented team last year, but now on the ground they're able to impress a little bit, guys.
Yeah, dominated the ground game, but also Tyler Bailey, the sophomore receiver, 8 catches, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns, also had 54 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. So they were getting it done in all phases of the game, and they forced 3 turnovers as well, so kudos to the defense there. Off to a nice 2-0 start, way to open up that new building there in Prosper, and now they go and have a big one next week against Flower Mound.
And they've got themselves their quarterback, Junior Jackson Berry, 3 touchdowns passing. Of course, Bailey had an outstanding job on the outside, but for Prosper, things are starting to come to form for them moving forward for a great matchup next week against Flower Mound.
That's going to be a fun matchup overall. Prosper, Flower Mound. Is it safe to say that Prosper, are they the favorites in that one? Or
I would lean towards Flower Mound, personally.
I think I would pick Flower Mound as well.
I think Flower Mound has a little bit more returning from last year, been there, done that. But certainly, I think Prosper might have the edge when it comes to line of scrimmage. I think their offensive line might be a little bit better. So that's going to be a high-scoring game. We saw a lot of points with Rockwall and Highland Park. it wouldn't be surprised if we saw Prosper and Flower Mound get up close to the amount of points and yardage that those two put up last week.
Yeah, Pierce Hudgens too tough, man. I think he makes the difference in that game versus Prosper.
And then Little Elm on the road against a Birdville squad, and Birdville taking down the Lobos today. This was a Little Elm team that I was really impressed with last week, and a Birdville team I was not very impressed with in week 1. But Birdville able to rebound a little bit and come out on top in that ball game. Is this a Birdville squad that's starting to ramp things back up a little bit, guys?
I think so. I mean, it's not like they got dominated last week. They were really leading Keller Central most of that game. They just sort of squandered it there at the end.
It's just the defense.
And it's
that's what they need to patch up. You know what they're going to be offensively with Mixon and Earl. It's just that you talked about it, Eric. They're a younger team defensively this year, and they're trying to figure out exactly who to play where, and they're gaining experience on the job. I think this is a team that will be better as the season goes on.
But Mixon, man, 3 total touchdowns tonight, 2 on the ground, 1 through the air. He was Mr. Everything for them, and almost 750 yards of total offense combined in this game. There was a lot of offense tonight.
Yeah, Little M is going to be a team that's going to rebound as well. They have a great defense and a pretty good offense as well. But what they have over there with Robert Craig and Tyrese Poe on defense, look for Little M to still be in it. I think, 1-1 team, they don't have anything to hang their hat.
Yeah, the Lobos were a fringe playoff team last year. I think they're a team that'll get in pretty handily this year with Jordan Hall running the football. And then, of course, Watts, the guy who can play wide receiver, can play corner, can play wherever you need him to.
I think Hall is an uberly talented running back. I think he's got a lot to give to that Lobos team throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, in Birdville, 393 total yards.
Yeah.
258 of those belong to Ladarius Mixon.
Just imagine, man. I mean, Birdville kind of gets lost in the shuffle in the division that they're in because of Denton Ryan.
Right. Yeah.
And they have to go through, and not only Denton Ryan, they got to play a lot of great teams.
They get Ryan at home this year.
Well, may make the difference, but again, they still got a lot of opponents that they have to beat to come out of that district. But again, if they were not in there with Denton Ryan, maybe, just maybe,
Exactly. Yeah,
Maybe,
all about that
maybe.
defense for Birdville. That's what it's really about for them.
Rockwall takes down Rowlett in emphatic fashion, and then moving on to South Lake Carroll and Colleyville Heritage. Colleyville Heritage just not there again this year in the Highway 26 battle at Mustang Panther Stadium as South Lake, goodness gracious, 50-9 the final score as they take down Colleyville Heritage with ease in that ball game.
Look
but
at
overall,
the first downs,
that was about to say
33-3. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, whenever you have a first down surplus of 30 over your other team, over your opponent, you're doing something right on both sides of the football.
A lot has to be something needs to be said about the Dragons' defense. I mean, my guy Graham Faluna. Faluna.
I'll take it.
Graham Faluna, linebacker for the Dragons. Tough guy. He had a big interception last week that he returned for a touchdown. But R.J. Mickens, I mean, here's another guy that he can shut down a lot of the things that you want to do in the passing game, and that's literally what Colleyville wants to do.
Clemson commit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Clemson Tiger, that R.J. Mickens. Looks like he'll probably play safety for them. But, yeah, for Southlake, doing it all offensively and defensively, just a beast.
You beat a rival that badly, 50-9, in Southlake Carroll with ease, like you said. I mean, from the word go, they were pretty much handily winning this one.
I can tell you, Joe Willis is not pleased about that. They will definitely get back to work tomorrow.
Yeah. No doubt. Yeah, tomorrow they're back to the drawing board is what it is for Colleyville Heritage moving forward. Arlington 38, Byron Nelson 14. A couple of the other scores, Bishop Dunn.
There it is.
You guys got in my head now.
I'm so sorry.
You guys have got in my head.
No one to blame but yourself.
13.
Pull that tape for future.
That's awful.
Bishop Dunn.
You guys are the worst.
Hey, is it
Dunn
Matthias?
is done with Skyline. It
or
is
Matthias. Oh, it is Matthias.
I don't know what it is.
He doesn't have a clue.
I don't know what that one is. That one's on me.
They're both on you.
Now I'm just all Now I'm just all flustered.
So
Highland Park takes down Mesquite Horn in emphatic fashion. Final score of that one 50-25. Horn with a pretty solid output, 348 yards.
No. You always do with
talk
Horn.
to us about Mesquite Horn.
I thought they had a chance. Okay, come on now, guys.
Jermaine Givens is graduated.
Is that right?
Yeah. Did you think South Oak Cliff had a chance against Duncanville?
Like crap, really?
You know what? I did.
You did?
I really did. did.
I thought so too.
I did, and I didn't pick them, but I thought they had a chance.
Think they had a chance.
I did.
South Oak Cliff.
I thought South Oak Cliff was going to come into this game. They're going to match speed, intensity. I mean, I didn't see a difference between the two teams other than the Jaquindon Jackson and Tristan
Turns out there's
Smith
a 56-point difference.
Chris Johnson Jr. and a lot of the other guys that they got over there in Duncanville. But no way did I think this. Come on, 56 points.
Especially with Jaquindon Jackson not really having to do anything. We don't know if he got knocked up at all or what
Jaquindon
it
Jackson
was.
didn't even play in the second half.
Yeah.
I mean, he was chilling. He's drinking Gatorade on the sideline. He had flip-flops on.
At least Sock avoided the shutout.
Jeez Louise.
They did avoid the shutout.
Had flip-flops and socks on the sidelines.
Man, that's outstanding.
I'm going to have some flip-flops on tomorrow morning watching Saturday college football, but there's plenty of high school football tomorrow as well. 3 games of note for high school football in the area. Cedar Hill, Denton Guyer, one of the Saturday matchups.
Big matchup.
This one at the Cotton Bowl tomorrow at 10 a.m. Early kickoff. Better wake up and watch some Denton Guyer, Cedar Hill.
Putting all my eggs in your basket, big boy.
You just did.
Yeah.
You did.
And I was the only one to pick Cedar Hill. Upset alert.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun game. Arlington Bowie's on the road against Mansfield, or not on the road. That one's at the Cotton Bowl as well. And then a Dallas matchup, Kimball at Carter from
Oak Cliff
Kincaid
Super Bowl
Stadium. Yeah, that one's going to be a fun one. Another Saturday game overall.
Guys, a game that we didn't, really point out as one that we were looking at tonight, but Mesquite Poteet and Waxahachie.
Yeah.
That has been an outstanding game. Wax coming back from a 46-36 deficit in the fourth quarter. They're now up on Mesquite Poteet, 53-46. As that one's late in the fourth quarter. Poteet's going to have an opportunity to get the ball back here. They just had to stop defensively. So Seth McGowan and Poteet with a chance to come back and try and salvage this win. But a great game going on there with the Waxahachie Indians.
There's a
and
ton.
Mesquite Poteet.
You said Waxahachie.
Waxahachie.
Yeah, there you
Wax.
go. Now, there are plenty of other games that we didn't necessarily touch on a ton. Let's look at some of the 6A scores from around the area as we wrap up week 2 here of Whataburger Friday Night Stars. But, plenty of games from throughout the area, like McKinney Boyd falling to Flower Mound. Marcus Prosper, we talked about over Timber Creek. But one of the games that I kind of wanted to look at out of those, Arlington Lamar. Holy cow.
Over the Harrison's Naaman Forest, yeah.
And
not
Jack
a good
Dawson had Naaman Forrest's number tonight.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
No
Rockwall
surprise.
Heath in a tight one over Wiley. That's a close game.
Yeah, I think Wiley was kind of an up team last year. This is a Pirates bunch that I think is also searching for their identity. They graduated quite a lot from last year's squad, including an outstanding receiver in Donovan Ollie.
Yeah, let's look at 5A scores from around the area as well. Irving Nimitz takes down Newman Smith 33-30. Denton Ryan, we mentioned it earlier very briefly, 24-0. That defense still looking pretty great for the Ryan Raiders. And then look at the shootout between McKinney North and the fighting Eric Chiafalos of Justin Northwest as they do fall again. But, man, that's a ball game.
68-65. They're playing basketball?
Yeah, you would think. Northwest last year was a high-flying, high-potent offense, and last week they did not get off to a good start in the loss to the Lobos, and now they do get off to a nice start here and have a nice output offensively, but, man, 68 points, that Northwest defense who lost a lot coming into this year. They got some studs over there like Cooper McDonald and company. They got a D lineman who I can't remember his name. I think he's a TCU commit. So they got a couple of guys, but, man, when you give up 68 points, that's a rough outing. But shout out to Austin Ahmad, the quarterback for Northwest. He had a big season last year statistically, and tonight he had a massive game.
Yeah, that's more of a basketball score, like Heckma said, than a football score, but a fun game nonetheless to talk about. Let's take one final look here at the 4A matchups as well from around the DFW area. Salina taking down Argyle Liberty Christian, rebounding 67-35. Frisco takes down Melissa 48-41. Oh, what are you upset about there, Heckma? Which one?
Jesus Christ.
Are you upset about the Greenville and Lincoln score?
Did you not feed them well enough today?
Well,
was that Chipotle on the menu
No,
again?
man. You know what?
Should have been Whataburger.
Hey, man, the Alumni Association heard my cry. We got some help. Yeah, we got some help for the team.
Did you give a thank you or two? Or?
Whoa. But I tell you, it's just not coming our way this year. Hey, next week we got the South Dallas Super Bowl. I hate you guys.
It was a big win. Kennedale Midlothian Heritage was a big game there in 4A.
God almighty.
Oh man, hey, not terrible, Heck.
I was hoping that we was gonna completely miss it. You talked about Midway, we talked about the Northwest.
You can't get out of here.
You know I'm putting it on there.
Hey, Zach and I were the only alma maters that got a win this week. So
mine was.
No, Midway won.
Midway went down to Lake Ridge.
They lost? I thought you said Midway won.
No, Midway
Wait a minute.
Oh, spoiler.
No, I was.
Wow. Hey, I thought you said Midway won. I'm going to say that this year, brother. So
that's so disappointing.
No, I was.
No, Lake Ridge went and won. Midway was winning for a portion of that game, but Lake Ridge got the victory.
Hey, the effort was there, though. Kyle.
Sorry, buddy.
I'm a little upset about that. You and I are going to talk about this whenever
French fries on you.
Exactly. Whenever things conclude, we are going to conclude and wrap things up here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Very quickly, Eric, who's your star of the week?
Oh, Braden Locke, Rockwall sophomore, quarterback, 382 yards, 5 touchdowns, and he's thrown for almost 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns in his first 2 games. Absolute man beast.
Mr. Zach Wolchuk.
We go with Mr. Collier from DeSoto, 6 passing touchdowns. Outstanding game for him.
Heckma.
What's my guy? You called him Baby.
Dwayne.
Braxton. I'm going with my kid, the kid Braxton, 326 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Frisco
Independence. He showed out, man.
My Friday night star. Everybody who watches Whataburger Friday Night Stars.
Chris Sims,
throughout the week.
Yeah,
Chris Sims.
Hey, Tito Bice, 43 carries, 206 yards.
Tito Bice
actually
carried the load.
Give him some
big
love.
too. Bo Hogaboo.
Bow time.
As always, it is
And
bow
Caden
time.
Davis, just because.
Yeah, just because Caden Davis. Gotta love Caden Davis at the college level. Thank you so much for joining us here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Week 2 has come to a close. Sadly, Zach Wolchuk and I will not be in studio next week.
Fired?
No.
Lost your gig?
I got Texas Rangers duty.
And I've got Louisiana football stuff as well, which is kind of weird.
Texas.
Hey, I'm bringing in Guy Frazier though, so you guys.
And I'm bringing in Nick Laupius. It's going to be a fun week.
Not
regardless.
as good with
Hey,
Nick,
man, Heck will be here, baby. Holding down the
you
fort.
you guys will take it for us.
Oh, Chris Beam and Matt Kent back in the studio. Thank you so much. For Fred Garner, for Heckma Harrison, for Zach Wolchuk and Eric Chiafalo, I'm Kyle Yeomans. This has been Whataburger Friday Night Stars. So long from the Star in Frisco.